All right, what is up, everybody? We are back Friday night. We've got an exciting Friday night because the NBA is back in action. Baby Keem is back, so I guess, fortunately, we didn't have to wait as long for the NBA to return from All-Star break as we did for Baby Keem to drop 3, 2, 1. IT didn't like it, Chad. It is what it is. They cut the mic right away. Shout out. We'll do better going forward. But we do. We are excited, of course, to have both things going. We will get this album fired up and listening to it. We're, excited for Baby Keem. Are we excited because there's also a Kendrick feature as well too? Like always, we're going in kind of blind with the album, so I guess we haven't necessarily laid eyes on the Kendrick feature ourselves. I haven't seen it on the track list, but we've heard about it. So, word on the street, we've got to make sure that, everything's good there. And, again, it's been obviously a few years. We are excited that Keem is back, dropping music, that we just, have good music as always, keeping the run going for 2026. But we do have to call out the Mavs for this roster that they have on the court right now. Shout out Mavs Minnesota, Mavericks Timberwolves in the ESPN game in primetime tonight. Minnesota in the Purple Rain jerseys, shout out. And the game is getting kind of close, so maybe we don't call the Mavs out too much. Minnesota, I think there is just an obvious lack of, do we say tension? Is tension the right word? But that's just, I think, the best way to describe it at this point, just watching it. And this is the game I have the sound on as well too for right now. I think I might actually just switch the sound, because this Hornets-Cavs game is a 2-point game in the fourth quarter, and the Hornets have become legitimately one of the more exciting teams in the league at this point. And, their record is still below 500. I guess we could do a last 10, 15, 20 games and see, if it's significantly above 500. And I guess I haven't been keeping track of the record exactly, just more, again, watching the individual games. And they're at the point right now where, obviously, in the Eastern Conference, there is a little bit of and with the play-in, there is a chance that, they could be in the lower tier for fighting for that playoff positioning, again, in the East. But, obviously watching the Hornets, and especially not as a Hornets fan as well, too, but just watching the Hornets, at this point in the timeline, there are some guys where, again, LaMelo is in his second contract, maybe he is the one, but for the most part, a lot of the guys on the team still can kind of get away without the expectation of winning. Again, I guess, obviously, Kalkbrenner right now playmaking from the top of the key. So do we include Kalkbrenner in the core? But, Knuppel and Brandon Miller, obviously some of their more recent draft picks, Saloon as well too. So, again, there has been, I guess, Bridges, there has been a version of the core for Charlotte that, again, is a little bit farther up the timeline. But I think the real version of the core, and I think LaMelo, is finding a way to really, obviously, like we've said in the past as well too, contribute and bring that fun, energetic, hey, yo, obviously, what do we say about LaMelo right now? But the man is definitely, obviously, again, the Hornets offense is cooking right now. That's for sure. But like we're saying, you can watch the Hornets without necessarily, tracking the wins, without having expectations. It's good for them to obviously be closing out fourth quarters and having good execution at the end of the games. Again, it's a 3-point game right now. So just because we're not expecting them to win, if they're going to be a good team, you got to execute. You got to be able to win here in, these close game scenarios. Saloon from the corner, our guy, he's gonna have those opportunities for sure, but he has definitely been a little inconsistent there so far. But for Dallas and Minnesota in, again, this ESPN game, and we maybe need to do a status check on our guy Cooper Flagg as well too. Dallas is going to have a little bit, as I say, Cooper Flagg not starting the second half here when they ran the lineups out to start the third quarter. But so, I was assuming he wasn't in the game. I guess I don't know exactly if he's missing, an extended period of time. Is Cooper Flagg done for the year? Have we hit the Cooper Flagg, we have to sideline him now territory? Because again, compared to, like we're saying, Knuppel on the Hornets, even if the Hornets record is, they're 26-30 and what Dallas was 19, so just under 10 games better. I guess you could say that they are in a different tier of team at this point. But, again, because of the East, because of the West, there is a little bit maybe more likelihood that they could be contending. So yeah, I guess on Basketball Reference, it just says so far that Cooper Flag is out for this game. So, again, I think this could potentially turn into something a little bit hit or miss down the stretch of the season, because, not to say that the Rookie of the Year is definitely something that, I'm sure Cooper Flag would want as an accolade for just an achievement to get. Because, again, I guess do we overhype Rookie of the Year now as well too? But is Rookie of the Year is more rare than the MVP in some ways. I guess, have there been less individual guys to win the MVP than Rookie of the Year? Because again, you can win multiple, so maybe that factor does also make it more rare as well too. I guess, we're not the advanced mathematicians to what is actually more rare. But again, you only get one opportunity to actually win Rookie of the Year, because if you play, you give up it's not like you can redshirt your rookie season and get back in the eligibility for Rookie of the Year. The only way that could potentially, happen would be you play exclusively G League minutes, and then maybe year two, you would play actual NBA minutes, and then you would have, reps in some ways, and, again, not at necessarily, obviously, the NBA level, and maybe you could argue, just G League versus college in general. Would you rather just be in college for 2 or 3 years versus go to the G League? And I guess the G League versus the G League Ignite as well, too, but I think, especially with NIL now as well, too, obviously that was, I guess for the Ignite, that was the point of the G League. The G League, does expand to players that, obviously have used up their college eligibility as well, too. So there is that factor of, AO. You need a little bit of a feeder system there beyond that. But for, again, for the opportunity, like, it is definitely, like we're saying, maybe just more likely to keep in the couple years in college. But I'm sure Cooper Flag does actually want to win Rookie of the Year. But maybe just for the long-term franchise thing, maybe they start, of course, start having the hit-or-miss games at this point. Yeah, I guess it says on ESPN they're 12th in the West right now for standings. And, I would assume 19 games would not necessarily be close to the 10 seed, even if, at this point, like we're saying, there are only a couple spots in the standings actually behind. But 2-point game, and 2-point game in this one here. And we did, as the second half was starting, and they were doing the highlights and recapping the first half, Richard Jefferson hit us with the "don't forget about Chris Middleton" as part of the highlight package. So shout out, Chris Middleton kind of balling out. Part of the what trade was he a part of, chat? Hey, yo, the Wizards, I guess Davis. It's like, who did the Wizards get? They're not playing the guys they traded for. I'm forgetting who these star players are. Hey, yo, who's the Wiz? What's the Wizards bench look like right now? Hey, yo, do we check? Is Washington playing their guys? If Washington, again, actually gets these guys out here, they are actually going to be, that I guess we'll see obviously what that does ultimately end up looking like. But at least the first couple of games, I am intrigued. What are we quoting here? But they do have our interest with the Anthony Davis Trae Young duo. Again, is it, are they going to win the Eastern Conference now that they have Davis and Trae Young? Hey, yo, I think we can have reasonable expectations for what this Wizards team is. Is it a much more fun, is it a better Wizards team than it has been in the past couple of years? That's just objectively true. We hope, I guess. Obviously the the injuries is a thing, but Trae Young for the most part has been healthy. So again, just having him out there, you would have said, having him as part of the roster, like, he is an upgraded player. Is Trae Young better right now than Jordan Poole? Debate away, chat. Debate away. Hey, yo. But yeah, I guess obviously, not surprising. Neither of them out there right now. I guess, is Davis actually done for the season as well? We may need to do status update there. But Vucevic cooking tonight. Tristan Vucevic for the Wizards, 14 points. Koulibaly, 13. I guess Pacers-Wizards is going to be, maybe a little bit of a high-scoring game. 131 for Washington. And I guess with this win, they're going to have a better record than the Pacers as well, too. So maybe even without their guys, they should be in that mix, because the Pacers traded Mathurin as well. So Zubac's not playing, but Mathurin without Halliburton is definitely an offensive option that they've had for for now. But you take him out of the lineup, Jarris Walker, 3 for 10 is definitely not scoring at a crazy rate. Jay Huff, 22 points. Like, Jay Huff might actually, looking at it right now, it's not even a hot take, but he might actually be their best offensive player at this point. And McConnell as well, too, can, in sort of an overall way game, get there. But I guess we're saying scoring, and I guess Nemhard's not playing as well, too. Neesmith, again, also, obviously AO. They are in clear tank mode at this point. But, between Jarris Walker, again, Jay Huff, TJ McConnell, Ben Shepherd, Cam Jones, shout out. I mean, we like Cam Jones. Marquette, definitely an electric scorer. 11 assists for our guy as well, too, shout out. So, the playmaking element is there. That's actually kind of exciting. I guess 6 turnovers. So, he's trying something, though. He's trying something. You got to give him credit. 39 minutes, -7. We're getting there. Ben Shepherd, the two-way impact. So maybe there's some nice pieces. Again, the whole core of your team is out. This is obviously, a way different version than was just in the finals. But Quentin Jackson with 21, 8 for 13 tonight, shout out. I'm more familiar, shout out. I guess we're more familiar with Jay Huff than Quentin Jackson. It is what it is. We got to check here. 3rd season from Texas A&M. And he is 19 points a game this year. Shout out. 26 games. Oh, wait, 19 a game for his career. Oh, current game. Oh, okay. So I guess 19 points per game in the current game. I'm confused. Do we have to go back and fact check this real quick? Did he have... I guess he had 21 tonight. I don't know what these stats are. We might have to go check the basketball reference for our guy Quentin Jackson at this point. But 24 against Utah the other night. I guess we need to be locked in on the Pacers box score and see what's going on there. Kind of balling out. I guess here is his regular season stats. I guess 8 a game, but 48% from the field. So if he can keep that up, maybe he is actually a little bit... They traded Matherin because they got Quentin Jackson? I mean, you never know. But you think about, again, getting the team back as well, too. I mean, Matherin is a really, really talented player, and there is... we just saw a version of the team, go through the Eastern Conference, and there is a version of that team, again, functioning the way that it did around Halliburton. That is, I think, even, it just gets better, with Halliburton and Matherin and Neesmith and Nemhard, and it's still, a little bit of a undersized lineup at some point, but, maybe Neesmith, of course, can play out of position at some point. And they did ultimately lose Turner, so I guess you have to just replace your center in general there a little bit. I know Turner... for all the dialogue that you could say about him as a player, again, he was giving you reliable starter minutes there for, well, I guess, shout out. In the eyes of the Remington pod, he was giving him reliable starter minutes. We like to compliment guys here on the Remington pod. Shout out Miles Turner. But, and I guess sneaky Team USA center Miles Turner, in the past as well. But, they definitely need to replace that. And Zubats maybe is, of course, just in general, a step up there. And like we're saying, just a better sort of, makes the 5-man lineup when all those guys are healthy make a little bit more sense. But, Minnesota. And again, just watching this game, like, the crowd is like, there is just that feeling that, you're just going to walk kind of through this game and win this game. So Dallas is definitely playing close. You got to give them credit. Shout out Minnesota. They're, having to go on a little bit of a run here. But, there is just definitely no, I guess what it is, the Rodney Dangerfield, no respect for the Mavs in this one. But yes, this is quickly going to become one of the more depressing lineups. And I know we have talked about how talented the league is in the past, but, of course, you start resting guys. That kind of, defeats the point of that. But that is just what's going to happen at the end of the season here as these teams goes into tank. Some of these teams go into tank mode. Of course, the guys are going to be managed here. The Kings haven't necessarily needed to do that. They have been okay just playing their guys and tanking in general. I don't know. Do we do a tank check? Because the league has been talking about changing the tanking rules as well too. So it's kind of at least on the mind of some of the NBA people. And I don't know what they're obviously there's 2 types of tanking. There's like the competitive tanking and then, like we've said before, the bad tanking, where it's like, oh no, the franchise is falling apart. Again, that's where the Kings are a little bit. I think there is the fact that they are, again, trending right now toward getting the number 1 pick. Like, that is, an encouraging thing for the fan base in some ways. But again, it's not like at this point they are, like we're saying, where Washington is, I guess, or what are we saying? Going back up to like Dallas, like we're saying with Cooper Flag, going back up to the lottery, or where San Antonio has been the last couple of years, where it's like, oh, well, now we got one guy, are we going to go back up and get another guy? AO, but for again, Sacramento, at least there is that. Okay, there is going to be a franchise guy on the board here for him, but obviously, the top 7, 8, 9. I guess the top. And I guess, Milwaukee's at 10 right now. But with the Giannis situation being what it is, you imagine that they're going to try to climb a little bit higher. And they have their pick as well, too. They have been a team in the past that has been known to make a trade. They obviously, they made the trade for Drew Holiday. They gave up first-round picks. And then they traded Drew Holiday for Dame Lillard to give up more first-round picks in that trade. So, it's been a little bit over the past couple of years. Like, wait a second, Milwaukee just doesn't have their first. But shout out, they do get it back, I guess, with, Giannis deciding that it's time to leave now as well, too. But they've got incoming unprotected New Orleans. Atlanta gets better of New Orleans, Milwaukee. Milwaukee gets the other. So I guess there is some sort of protections scenario in play, but it doesn't look like whatever it is super likely. But again, and I guess it wouldn't be surprising if Chicago was headed for, tanking, I guess, as well, too. But I don't know if they necessarily, they just seem like they're trying to hit the 35 win mark. So, is that tanking or is that making the playoffs? Who knows what it is? Maybe it's just the 9th overall team in general is there. But then, of course, Charlotte, Atlanta, Blazers, Clippers. I guess the Warriors would be the other sneaky tank team at this point. But, with the whole Steph Curry thing, it would just seem a little weird to tank. But they have kind of been there in the past, before they won the finals the last time. They had to tank. So I'm not saying they tank one more time. Do they win the finals with Steph? But you might have to do some aggressive tanking if you're the Warriors. I guess, and they are kind of sitting in the middle of the players. They're above 500. So that would definitely be a switch to poll. 29 and 27 at this point. They have a second as well, too. It's all going to be important. Wait, can we get a standings for the West here and double check? They might be like 6th or 7th in the West. But again, if we're just talking futures, especially playoff upside as well, too, you just know that, their ability to traverse, the word of the day, their ability to traverse multiple playoff rounds would seem, a little unlikely. The Warriors are 8th right now. So they're 2 games above the Clippers. But I guess the Clippers don't have their first round pick. So regardless of what their roster was looking like, that in general would just be an incentive. So, we can't necessarily tank, we're not incentivized to do it ourselves. Because, they're not going to be benefiting from the potential, quote unquote, the reward of a bad season. But regardless, with Kawhi, with the level that Kawhi can play at, and it does seem like the Clippers roster is just a little bit more well-rounded maybe than the Warriors roster at this point. I don't know if it's necessarily, again, like you go non-Steph, non-Kawhi guys, and, Garland not even playing right now, you take Garland off. Like, I don't know if it's name value necessarily, that much different. Again, the Clippers have been getting some contributions from some low-key names at this point, with all due respect. But, yeah, I just don't, and like Phoenix, is Phoenix going to make the Western Conference Finals? They just had a pretty tough game, and Booker, I think, left the game last night against San Antonio as well, too. But I don't remember exactly what the point of the score was when he left. San Antonio was dominating that game, pretty easily. But, again, they could definitely be a team that we could see, potentially winning a couple of playoff rounds. Again, I just don't see it with the Warriors at this point. But they might just be too kind of in the middle of the pack. It might be too difficult for them to fall down, the list at this point. Because, again, there is a bit of a tier jump between them and the Blazers and the Grizzlies at 20 games. Like, I'm not necessarily saying, like, would we lock it in? If Steph's playing, I wouldn't lock it in that the Blazers would win a 7-game series versus the Warriors, but I kind of think they would. I would not be afraid to pick the Blazers in that series. And maybe I just like the Blazers more at this point than the Warriors. It is what it is. I mean, shout out. I'm not saying that we're not done rooting for Steph Curry by any means. Maybe we're just done rooting for the Warriors. We've had our time hating the Warriors. We've also had our time like kind of liking the Warriors. Like, oh, Steph, the underdog now at this point. It is what it is. Or not, underdog, but, that kind of second life of working through the villain phase of the Durant years and the Durant year villain years. But, then, of course, becoming, just one of the generationally. And obviously he was beloved as well, too, before that. But, was like, like all great players. I guess the basketball hate obviously becomes a little bit of a strong word, but there is just that competitive villain thing that you have when you're rooting against a guy all the time. And then they had a couple of years to reset there. They went back up. And the thing about them tanking was as well too is they, with all due respect to Wiseman, they tanked their pick as well. So it wasn't necessarily like Steph had like an unfair a sort of advantage of having that second round pick in that, or that second overall pick in that way. I think as again, as an NBA community, I don't even think we would have held it against him if they had that. I think it would have been, interesting just for the second half of Steph's career if they managed to I was gonna say win that pick, because I'm thinking now, shout out to Cleveland, they just won this game versus Charlotte. So again, the record hasn't quite necessarily like turned into an above 500. You look at it on paper and see, oh well, Charlotte, watch out for the Hornets. But watching the games, they're in the tier of you don't want to play this team. Like, where are they at right now? The 10th seed, Charlotte, the Hawks, the Magic, the Sixers. I don't know, the Raptors, the Cavs. I mean, I'm not saying that you'd rather play the 4, the 5, the 6, and the 7 instead of the 8, the 9, and the 10. But I guess we'll have to see how the Eastern Conference shakes out as well, too, because it's not necessarily that many games. I mean, it's kind of close throughout the entire league at this point, in terms of overall wins. There's not, I guess, 4, 5 wins for the Pistons over the Celtics for the 1 and the 2 is a little bit of a jump at this point. The Celtics would have to, or the Pistons would have to definitely, take a step back for a couple weeks, maybe some, poor play or some, you don't want to say injuries, but, again, it'd be a little bit of a slide for them for a week or two for them to give that up. Pause. For the most part, though, it is, again, records pretty close. So the Cavs at the 4 seed, I guess 36 wins after tonight, and then Atlanta as the 9 seed, Hornets as the 10 seed, I guess, 26 wins still after tonight as well. So 10 wins. So again, definitely obviously a jump there. But, again, for the Raptors at the 5 seed, I guess at 33 wins, it's a little bit closer. Miami, the 8 seed, 29 wins. Like, with those teams flipped, that necessarily wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world. In Philly, Maxey, if Embiid's really cooking, and then Paul George is back as well, too. If Edgecombe is taking a step up in the playoffs, like that Philly starting 5, again, you're not going to want to play that Philly starting 5 as well, too. But I don't know, just the what if sort of energy of the Hornets right now is, just I don't know if the mystery of that is, again, you don't want to face that in the playoffs versus, maybe there is just a sort of, and you hate to say it as well, too. Again, we're pro Embiid on this pod, but I guess if you're an opposing team, of course, you could definitely talk yourself into a pro or an Embiid playoff thing as well, too. That could happen. I guess LaMelo playoffs, maybe we don't check those stats because I don't think LaMelo's really been in the playoffs, but, Knuppel, the Kalkbrenner playoff, storylines haven't necessarily, developed in a negative way at this point. Not yet, though. I guess we'll see what happens, like we're saying, with their playoff run now. Hey, and speaking of the Blazers, they are playing Denver up next. 2 minutes left. We got to switch the game because the Hornets one did just end. Bucks versus Pelicans. Hey, no Giannis. The Bucks are still winning. That's too depressing. It is what it is. And then Brooklyn versus the Thunder. The Thunder have pulled away here in the second quarter. Third quarter starting 10 minutes in the third. And the Thunder are up by 20. It's 57-38. Okay, wait a second. So does that mean Brooklyn scored 5 points in the second quarter? Because I looked at the score at the end of the first, I guess. Hey, really keeping up here. But Brooklyn was in the lead. So the Thunder right now have some guys that are injured. Of course, they're a really deep roster as well, too. Oh, they were at 23, not 33. Okay, so they scored 10 points. A whole 10 points in the second quarter. Way better than we thought there. But I guess double anyways. But again, OKC is dealing with some injuries right now. So not necessarily, end of the world as long as they get their guys back for the playoffs and, as long as they don't necessarily lose like 20 games in a row and just fall to like the 7 seed, like we're saying. But it was like, okay, wait a second. Is like maybe these good players for OKC actually do matter because Brooklyn is keeping up with them for a quarter there. But then it's like, hey, yo, it is what it is. Hartenstein, Wiggins, Chet cooking him out there. He's got 12 points, 7 for 7 from the free throw line. So Chet, hey, yo, just being a beast, getting to the foul line. I guess somebody's got to get the calls on OKC. It is what it is. But the other Jalen Williams, 5 points. I guess Isaiah Joe as well, too, hitting some threes. He's got 10. McCain with 2. And Topic. Seeing Topic play some minutes. Hey, yo, the Brooklyn's scouting him right now. Brooklyn's going to throw 3 or 4 second-round picks at OKC in the offseason for Topic. Can they play Denham and Topic and Danny Wolf and all the point guards they drafted? And I think they can play all these guys together. But Denham, I guess 1 for 6 tonight from the three-point range. Just firing up threes as well, too. Is he not getting to the basket? If Igor Denham was on the Thunder, how many fouls would he get per game? It's a good question, I guess, for his player development. But Danny Wolf, 0 for 3 from the three-point line. So what is the draft class right now? Is Traore, Nolan Traore, is he part of this past draft class? Yeah, he was their 19th overall pick this year. Guard, 6'3", 185. So, hey, yo, I guess, are we calling him out? I don't know, but he's the only one that's actually made a shot tonight from 3. He's 1 for 3. So the draft class right now, was it just those 3 guys, or was there a 4th one that I'm missing? Pause. But it was, I guess right now, what do we got? 1 for, I guess Igor Denham also did make one. So we got 2 for 12 from from the three-point line for the draft class combined in the first half is, again, a little bit of a tough game. I don't know if we project it out for their entire career and just say that's what the percentage is going to be. But Porter is also 0 for 5 from 3 tonight. So, they're cooked, obviously, if Porter is not going to be scoring. Porter, another audition. That could have been the trade. The trade could have been Porter in seconds for Topic. I don't know who the big contract is they have to trade to get back in the deal. I guess Hartenstein is kind of the only. Is it Dort? I guess would you trade Dort for Porter? Probably not. But Dort and Topic for Porter in the offseason, I don't know why, again, OKC would necessarily be making that move. But, yeah, 10 points in the second quarter, not great there for Brooklyn. So they're down by 20 as the third quarter starts up here. I guess we can keep up, obviously, with the NBA as the night goes. And if I didn't mention already, we do have a player list ranking to get into here for Bleacher Report. Hey, yo, the REMINGTOM pod tackles Bleacher Report. We didn't necessarily expect that to be this week, but they did drop a couple of rankings we do have to react to. Of course, we were looking at they just dropped the top 100 all-time quarterback rankings over the week, so we did have to take a look at that on the last live stream. But they did also drop a top 99 players of the NBA season so far. So we can do a little bit of a check-in and see what the community is thinking for player rankings at this point. Is Wemby going to be number 1? I think is essentially the question that we're asking ourselves. I would assume that Jokic is still going to get the respect as the best player in the league. I mean, do we even have to check the PER? Wemby might be getting close. Who knows? We haven't done a little stats update. We haven't needed to do a stats update. We haven't needed to make the case for it. Wemby, the Spurs have just been cooking. It is what it is. But, but is Wemby going to be 2 at this point? So we could definitely, wander through this player ranking as this goes. But we will get this album queued up here for our guy Keem and see what he has got going on. Again, the highly anticipated return of the only other guy on PG Lang. It's just him and Kendrick, I think, at this point. So shout out. And obviously PG Lang itself, are we doing the history of PG Lang? But in terms of projects dropped under that umbrella, it's not like all of Kendrick's projects are necessarily like, the modern day, like, the PG Lang type stuff. It still goes back, obviously, to obviously he's been able to emerge to the point where he can be sort of a, you can see the record label starting to form in this way. But I guess, Baby Keem carrying PG Lang more than Kendrick. I don't know, if that's the correct storyline or not. But again, I guess as the only other label mate, he is, highly valued there. That's for sure. But, again, obviously, the rising talent as well, too. And, shout out, hey, 2021 to 2026. So I guess we are in the 5-year range for the album wait at this point. September 2021 to February 2026. So 4.5 years since the last album drop. I guess it is definitely, a pretty good wait at that point. You do have to say that, the deluxe dropping in 2022. And it's not, I guess the other thing for Keem is as well too, it's not like he's necessarily been, and I'm not saying this disrespectfully, but just looking at the career, it's not like he's necessarily been super active in terms of the features and things like that since, again, this has happened. Obviously they have had their songs, and even a single like The Hillbillies, shout out, do we like listening to it? Is it a fun track? I mean, we won't lie here, it is what it is. We like the song, so I guess we don't have to include Sam into that. I guess I would say it's a good song. I mean, is it like the most lyrically dense Kendrick track? Obviously not, but it's a fun beat, so shout out. But again, it's not like he's necessarily been the crazy feature artist since then as well too. So that does obviously help build up the mystique in some ways. But then again, just the overall sort of artist momentum does, you wonder what the momentum of that, like we're saying, is in general. But, and, again, the rumors of the album, of course, have been around for a while. And chat, you guys probably know what the original title was supposed to be. I want to say Dances with Wolves, but isn't that a Kevin Costner movie? So, maybe he was going to name it after the Kevin Costner movie. I mean, shout out, maybe big fan of The Bodyguard, but maybe, Dances with Wolves, I don't know. I guess, obviously, there's a bunch of other costumes. Bull Durham, maybe, does Baby Keem love Bull Durham? Shout out. But, it was something, was it Raised with Wolves? Maybe it was something like that, I guess, But, obviously, we get the Casino title drop as well, too. But, again, there was that rumors for it for a while. So, you wonder, just the quote-unquote frustration. Again, it's frustration, but just because you want the artist to be making music as well, too. So it's a compliment in that way. But, again, you do wonder what that hype level is going to be for when the album drops. And when the rollout did seem to be officially starting to happen, it did seem like the respect and, again, like we're saying, that hype and that conversation around where Baby Keem could potentially be at in terms of a talent in the game did start to really reignite. And I personally as well too, I do definitely underestimate like how popular he is in general. And I'm not trying to say what does it mean when a guy says like he underestimates how respected he is, but I'm just maybe I'm again projecting as well too. I guess again we can be honest, and it doesn't mean that you don't like a guy just to say that you don't necessarily go back to his discography a lot. But it happens as well too, like sometimes you get into the lane where like you only play 2 or 3 artists. So then it's like, okay, well then who are you listening to just in general? But, I might not always be thinking to queue up like Baby Keem songs all the time. And, again, he does have his hits that do get in the mix. Like Family Ties is just going to be a classic aux song in general. And 16 as well too, shout out, is, very great cruising song. So he does, obviously have aux songs for both aesthetics, which is, I guess, important as well too. And he is obviously one of the, a great versatile artist as well. But, shout out the sort of that hype of being the next guy is definitely there. And I don't know if there is an NBA. I was trying to think of the NBA comparison for him as well too, because again, he is definitely, you could say, obviously he's not like a rookie talent because again, he has been making music for a while, but a little like Cardi in the way that, the body of work, and again, you say it respectfully because you don't necessarily have to in some ways, have a crazy body of work, but are we comparing like the years in the game versus the body of work in the game as well too? So again, it's like, what is, and Ayo obviously not saying, but the NBA, I guess you don't have to play every year. Ayo, Ben Simmons is just Ben Simmons, the comparison for every guy that delays dropping an album. ASAP Rocky, Ben Simmons, Playboy Cardi, Ben Simmons. I don't know. Again, shout out all these guys dropped albums, and I was thinking about this as well too with some of these hyped up albums, and I don't know really what's left at this point for sort of the 5-year wait on the album. I guess it's being charted out by somebody, but to have Cardi and ASAP and Keem, I think those three were definitely in that tier. And then I think Jid didn't quite get. He was maybe like 3.5. So I guess what we're saying, Keem is like more like 4.5 as well at this point. But I think 4.5 is definitely starting to get into that that quote unquote long wait for an album. But all those guys have delivered as well too, and it seems like the early returns on this project have been really great as well. So in the snippets, which I did not necessarily see too much of because again, wanted to experience it in the album. So, but it did seem like the community was reacting positively to all the clips that are being dropped. And the rollout in general, again, like we're saying, was just very, very captivating, even though it did go definitely very quickly for, again, I guess how long it's been since the album has been dropped. They definitely packed a lot of the rollout into a very short amount of time. But they did definitely build a very, very great, vibe around a very definite aesthetic around the album. And, there is probably some similar crossovers there as well, too, with maybe where Kendrick is at, dropping his second studio album in his career. I guess, is the Melodic Blue technically a studio album, or is it like a super complicated mixtape? I think it is. It's got to be a debut studio album, right? Or is, DFMB, is that technically a studio album? But I think that's a mixtape. So this has got to be album number 2. And, obviously, again, just being a versatile artist, he does have introspective cuts, introspective lyrics throughout the course of his career. But I think as a project, you see him start to really, again, start to lay out a little bit more of his story here, start to get the personal stuff. And, again, just the overall aesthetic around this as well, too. And not to say that, we're not sitting here saying that we remember the Good Kid, Mad City rollout, because we were not necessarily locked into rollouts at that point. We would have had to have been hearing songs as they pop up on the radio and, as they get popular and as they're working their way through culture. But, just looking at the vibe and looking at the branding, there is obviously, definite aesthetic crossovers, definitely, the lineage and the just like the family pictures and, again, the documentaries and the short films and things like that. It's definitely in the similar vein. So it will be interesting, I guess, to see, how he does tackle a project like that as well, too. Because we know how Kendrick does see these sort of narrative cohesive, bodies of work versus, again, maybe just not to say a random collection of songs, but to what degree, I guess, is this sort of driven by that type of cohesion as well, too. Or, obviously sort of, a through line, just sort of obviously, like we're saying, just the overall tracks is something that is obviously possible as well, too. And outside of Kendrick, I don't know necessarily who else is supposed to feature on this, or, I guess, anybody, Top Dog. Yeah, like we're saying, I guess, who else on the PG Lane label besides Kendrick, but, maybe the Top Dog crossover helps out there as well, too. I guess, spoiler alert, we could just look it up and get into it. Pause. Oh, do we just scroll through and see? Too Short. We've got Too Short and Che Ekru on the feature list as well, too. And Momo Boyd also on the Kendrick track. So a double feature there. But, good, concise project, I guess, for Baby Keem. 11 songs, 37 minutes. Again, there is definitely that, do you have to be perfect here as well, too. But I think there is, again, good expectations for Baby Keem's project. And I guess the fall off would have been the other. I forgot to mention the fall off. We were talking about, delayed album releases. I guess J. Cole himself, it hadn't been 4 years since dropping an album, but obviously an album titled The Fall Off and his hype building for that was, incredible, and still, obviously, it was years in the making. But I guess those guys, again, were generally more established artists than Keem is at this point. Keem is definitely, like we're saying, again, established artist in his own right, in that he can make his own body of work, like we're saying in the Melodic Blue. He can drop, like we're saying, a big hit if he wants and work with other people and, tackle all different types of writing styles throughout his work. But, again, his ability to consistently deliver project time and time again, and what just the overall, artistry of his career looks like, still, we're still developing that. So Carti had been at a point where, again, music was setting himself up to be that next album, and what is that going to look like? But, he had already, in some ways, changed the game, obviously, with, Whole Lotta Red, and had a great original. Is that a trilogy? Hey, like we're saying, we don't necessarily remember Playboi Carti's whole discography, but he had, is it Location? Is it self-titled? Then is the second one called Location, or is that just the track on there? And then Whole Lotta Red would have been the third one of that run. Oh, Die Lit, of course, Die Lit. Hey, yo. So, and I guess 2 years between Whole Lotta Red and Die Lit, but then, 5 between the next two there. But, again, like Playboi Carti had been established at that point, is part of the reason why the hype was what it was. A$AP Rocky, obviously, crazy mixtape run, crazy album run at that point. Say what you will about Testing, but, the album run just in general, like we're saying, was a major success. And obviously that album just ages great as well, too. More people look back at that favorably than not, which is, more important, I think, at the end of the day. But so there is, still that newness in Baby Keem's career as well, too, where, again, maybe a little bit of a different type of expectation than, like we're saying, a major guy dropping it. And not, I guess that was probably a poor way to phrase it, but, just a little bit more of a veteran player dropping a project like that. But, this is, again, exciting track list to tackle here and see what is going to be happening. So shout out. Do we just fire up, I guess, track 1 and see where we go? Are we spinning this one twice? Hey, yo. Maybe we do. Highway 95 Part 2? Oh, you love a good Part 2. I am not a lyricist. I guess we're paying attention to the titles right now. And the one with Kendrick on it is called Good Flirts. So is this Kendrick just continuing to lean into that, the no double entendre era? I guess we got to figure out shout out, rest in peace, the bigger picture. But Elliot Wilson just, phrasing the whole dot on top of the pause. Dot being the number one guy in the game, just phrasing it as the dot error. Dot error? Whoa, the dot era. But what are we saying there, Chad? It's definitely not an error. But are we dropping subtle Drake lyrics in the pod? I don't know. But Good Flirts is, definitely given the vibes of that type of track as well too. And I was gonna say always, but he does definitely take the with Baby Keem. He does take the opportunity of working with Baby Keem, of course, to again have more fun tracks than maybe introspective cuts. And again, it's obviously been successful for us, like we're saying, with their attempts. Because I will definitely play. I'll probably be playing the Hillbillies after this. Hate to keep bumping the microphone cable, but it is what it is. So No Security, track number 1. Oh, chat, the speaker turned off. I just realized the speaker turned off. We've been rambling. Okay, wait, we got to turn the speaker back on. We'll be right back. Give us a second. All right, Chad, here we are. We're back. Track 1, no security. We can actually play it. We can actually hear it. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, we might have to lock in track. This is starting off with the nice little soulful vibe here. You like to see it? Hey, yo. I don't know why it's like a, kind of like a, I was going to say like a Jay-Z type of vibe. Kind of the slow intro on the verse. But I think just that sort of, building energy, obviously, on the intro track is classic as well, too. I've been, who thought we were going to mention Cardi B on the Baby Keem album, on the first track? Hey, yo. But I have been bumping the last couple, I guess Cardi B's only got the 2, but I've been bumping the couple of Cardi B albums lately. It is what it is. I was going back to that last one, I Am the Drama, and I was like, this is one of the better projects of the last year. We were underrating this one in the moment. But then going back and listening to Invasion of Privacy as well, too, that first track, does have that build on it as well. So, I don't know, is this going to have the bass drop, like, Get Up a 10? Is that what it's called? I guess I don't remember the exact name of that track. But, Baby Keem, is it Jay-Z? Is it Cardi B? Baby Keem? Which one is it, Chad? Hey, yo, I guess the comparisons there are the legends, walking amongst the legends to start. It is what it is. Young M.A., what's the name? I guess just Intro. Is that the artist that I'm thinking of? What's that album? Is it just Herstory in the Making? Yeah, don't underestimate Herstory in the... No Mercy. Yeah, No Mercy's got kind of a nice, hey, yo, some nice foreplay before the beat drop on that album. So I feel like the bass drop is going to be this second track here. If not, I don't know if it's going to be just a sort of soft intro. Do we get a Don't Kill My Vibe type of next track if we're just straight up copying Good Kid, Mad City? No. We've got some high energy, some distorted, almost like electronic type production. We were talking about Playboy Cardi. Is he stealing Playboy Cardi's beats? Oh, Chet. Hey, yo. Baby Keem. You love to hear it. I guess this is, Family Ties does have kind of that same, there is, I guess, a cohesive energy throughout the type of aux bangers that he drops in his track list. But I like obviously, this is going to be a heavy, heavy rotation song right off the start. Hey, yo, we've been bumping Gemstones a lot. From the Don Toliver, we've been bumping the Don Toliver album. I think everybody's been bumping the Don Toliver album a lot to start the year. But Gemstones has been a great aux banger. Helicopter, of course, A$AP Rocky, that getting to officially be in the album track list. We've been playing that one a lot lately. Stole Your Flow as well too. Stole Your Flow, sir. That has been a track that we have been playing a lot as well. 2-6. Off of the we mentioned Jay-Z again. Ayo, why are we thinking has he been in the news or something? But J. Cole off of that album. Ayo, has been another fun high energy one. So immediately with Casino as well too. Put it into the track list. Put it into the playlist. Put it into the rap caviar. Let's see what we got going on here. So I guess I am not a lyricist, like we're saying a little bit later. Are we going to get more introspective cuts, or are we going to get the just energy carried throughout the track list here? Maybe this is more GNX than Good Kid, Mad City. Good Kid, Mad City branding with the GNX style track list. I guess that would be fun. Oh, the little beat switch here for our guy Keem. This is definitely a family styles track for sure. But you know what? I like it. It is what it is. And I guess, we're not necessarily locked in on the lyrics here to start. Keem is the only artist to be listed. His flow does his cadence, his voice. Do I just say his voice overall? I might have to mute and just make sure we're locking in. It does seem a little bit different. It does seem like we are, he is maybe changing it up there. Let's see what we got. And I guess you could say, obviously, you hear the Kendrick influence. It goes both ways as well too, because you do have to give Kendrick or to give Keem his credit for being part of, Kendrick's artistic development in some ways as well too. Obviously, part of the battle was the fact that Kendrick doesn't work with any ghostwriters, but it is, you know, do you say like an iron sharpens iron situation? Like obviously Keem is a good creative, you know, artist in his own right and has been very influential in work. I don't know exactly going back before Mr. Morale. Like I don't know exactly where to credit him there, but you know, he has features of course on Mr. Morale, and I think just, you know, stylistically a lot of the stuff you can see that he is, you know, do you say copying? Probably not, but you can see the fact that it's like, okay, he's like, I'm trying, you know, it'd be like an NBA thing where the veteran player is like able to take a move or two from like a newer teammate, where it's like, okay, obviously this guy is still carrying that, you know, veteran weight, the #1 type of status, but it's like, oh, you know, this kind of, he's like, this little post move here is definitely something that I've taken from this guy. Like the drop step is something, you know, I was gonna say like DeRozan, maybe that'd be the other way if like if DeRozan was able to, you know, impart his like footwork knowledge on a veteran teammate or something. But you know, if obviously, you know, some next guy joins the Spurs or whatever, and Wemby's like, oh, you know, I'm gonna borrow a couple moves from him. It's like, oh, you know, is Wemby copying this guy's game? It's like, maybe, or he's just, you know, continuing to push his, you know, quote unquote artistry further by adding these other elements into it. So that's kind of obviously been where Kendrick has been in that lane with Keem. But regardless, again, those elements have worked throughout the course of his career and have been needed. Birds and the Bees, Chad. Hey, yo, so Keem said he was going to give us his life story. He's going way back. Hey, yo, is this before Keem? I think it might be. I guess we're not, I guess, you know, it is what it is. Of course, some soulful production here as well too. We've got some, you know, the pitched up sample in the back is definitely a nice offset from the energy of the last track for sure. We got a nice little funky bounce to this one. I mean, you gotta give Keem credit for, you know, being experimental with his sound, still being able to, like we're saying, use and pay homage to these classic beats and sample these classic elements. I guess I don't know exactly sample credits for this track list here, but obviously, you know, those sounds being implemented as well. But this is definitely, again, a newer type of vibe. There is some, you know, a newer type of bounce here that is pretty fun. I guess what track? Oh yeah, Birds and the Bees. Ayo, I gotta figure out what's going on here and what's happening in this track. Hey yo. How introspective are we getting, Keem? I ain't mad. Okay, is this the Tupac homage to start? I don't know there, but tired of lying to you, acting like it's fact. Hate a curious, asking, what's that? When I say that I'm boo, that mean I'm never coming back? Shawty keep that dog in the kennel. Her man bought the doll. He didn't have a denim. I just hit my stride. Let you clean up my momentum. I was ducking all the drama. Spent the summer getting thinner. Little piece of work. She's a bad mama jamma. I get for freaky hit her off. Forget the okay, Chet. Ayo, we're getting to the Birds and the Bees here at the end of, I guess, verse 1. It is what it is. Honey, honey, out on the sea, in the doldrums, thinking of me. Oh, is this the? Oh, feast. Is this the feature there? So maybe we have a feature instead of like an actual sample. I guess it's not listed on the artist, but it is on, it says pre-chorus on Genius. It says Feast. So again, I guess I'm personally not familiar with an artist named Feast. If I should be, you know, that's my bad. I guess we can see on the Spotify. Oh, Chad, the Kendrick track. Ayo is going on. I guess here we go. We got an artist. Oh yeah, $5 million a month, Chad. Oh, I've got a song saved by Feast. Hey, yo. So we got to lock in. The Reminder 2007, I'm assuming this is the same artist. You know, is it like Hollywood rules? Can you only have one artist of the same name? So I'm assuming that this is the artist registered as Feast. Is that the Prince version of their name? The artist registered as Feast? I think that might go against what Prince was saying. But, or unless there's commentary there that we're not thinking of. But, yeah, shout out Feast. Crushing it, I guess, on the pre-chorus. But this is like a, I don't know why immediately, and I think, hey yo, I guess a shout out. Should we be listening to the more introspective cuts off of GNX instead of the bangers? No, I think it's all supposed to be listened to. But there's like a is it Gloria That's the one that he's like talking about the pen, like it's the Benjamin. What's he talking about? That's the one where he's talking about the lyrics, like they're of course a relationship with a lady, and making the same type of correlation there. There is like a similar type of bounce to that song that there is to this song as well. So a little bit more laid back here. Again, I was good flirts. I don't know why I was thinking like, good credit. And then, Playboy Cardi, obviously in the more, kind of trap stuff that the stuff that he is doing there. I guess that's a little bit of a broad way to phrase it. But, with the lane of production that he is in there, that is, there's going to be an energy to the, a song like Backdoor or a song like Good Credit, even though maybe, again, speaking of the spectrum of aux bangers, like Good Credit might be, again, like the windows down type of aux banger. Backdoor is like cruising through the city late at night. Ayo, pause, but, cruising through the city late at night type of aux song as well. But, here we go. Shout out Momo Boyd as well too. I guess it is what it is. There's going to be an overshadowing factor, but we don't need to necessarily have it that way. We can, pay credit to everybody. And you see a nice little fun flow here on this track. We got to actually, I guess, pull up the lyrics here and lock in on what is happening. Wait, what is this? Birds and the Bees is the third track on Keem. We're back on this one. The title's a direct homage to Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell's song, If This World Were Mine, from their 1967 song Untitled. The song is also a sample of Luther as well too. Oh, okay, so I guess that was a sample there on that track, and not was Feast. Did Feast interloop? We got to figure out, was Feast, what was, we got to go back and actually pay attention. I guess it is what it is, but shout out to the usage there of that beat. Of course, Ayo, we just saw it work out pretty well for Kendrick and SZA. But let's see, Good Flirts with the Kendrick appearance. Shout out. Verse 2, I need a new la la la, a love like this. Flood your contour, make you blush like this. Oh, have a friend zone when you hug like this. Nibble on your ear, touch your butt like this. We adjust like this. If God's a girl, then in God we trust like this. To be honest, love too. I gossip with my like I'm Young Thug too. Dumb lungs on you, spun the hair bun loose. Righting wrongs till they come with royalties and pub too. Where are you at? At the house with it watching Sinners? Oh, chat, we got a drop. Shout out Kugler. Shout out to the hopefully best picture of the year. Did we check the poly market? Can Kendrick influence the Oscar race? Hey, yo. That is the question, I guess. If Kendrick can shout, I guess, not if he can, but if he does shout out the song, and I guess, hey, yo, obviously, check the tapes, but Sinners can win Best Picture in its own right. That's not what we're saying. It doesn't need it doesn't need, but it also does need, people to continue to reinforce the fact that this is the best movie. So, hey, yo, I mean, obviously, do you make the case for the rhyme scheme that he had to make that work? Hey, one battle after another, it doesn't work for the verse. But also, it is what it is. Which movie are you watching, chat? Which movie are you watching? I mean, it's just the truth of the matter. That one of the movies is going to be on the TVs. It is what it is. It's going to be Sinners. So, shout out. You love to see it. And you love to see Kendrick, I guess, is this the first time that it's been mentioned in a rap song? I'm trying to remember. I think that, and maybe this is honestly a bit as well, too. Maybe we should just rank it now. But we could rank what could be shouted out from that. Hey, yo, I don't know, I thought of something crazy, a bar that'd be crazy. Of course, a couple scenes that stand out from that movie. But Smoke and Stack are definitely, if they don't become iconic hip hop lyrics, like, what are we doing, chat? What are we doing? But I mean, Ayo, obviously, is this one of those classic things where you just like say something, you're just like, let the artist handle it, they'll be better at it than we are. But, I feel like there is obviously all the metaphors of what Sinners is as a movie, but then just the dynamic of the twins themselves just being like cool, really tough guys is just guys that, they're just characters that need to be mentioned in songs as well. And there is, I was gonna say, what was I just listening to? That, oh, is it Jid? I guess I would say I'm in the phase right now where I'm listening to like two artists. So Kendrick and Jid, and it would have been Kendrick, Jid, and Pusha, but I guess hey yo, do we have to pause the Pusha rotation for right now? I'm not sure, but right now Kendrick and Jid, man, that's it. But for, I forget, is it Boom? Is it the feature Boom? Who's this artist that he Token? Shout out to Token. I guess I'm not gonna cue it up right now. And hey yo, I'm getting distracted. House Money. This song is a banger. This song is a banger. I'm talking about Jid. I'm talking about, you know, double entendres of, you know, Smoke and Stack. I feel like it fits in with the type of energy of that track. So that's why it was, I guess, playing so seamlessly there in the background. Okay, I Am Not a Lyricist does start off smooth. It does have a chill vibe to it. So maybe this is a lyrical cut. Maybe he's lying to us. But, hey, yo, Too Short? Sex Appeal next with Too Short. Hey, yo, are we going to get like an R&B Baby Keem here? Like, what's going to happen? Track 7, I guess, look out, up next. But, yeah, we do have, I guess, like we were saying, for this feature with Jid, I guess, and there has been a bunch of, can we just look up a whole, like, the list of songs where they shout out Django Unchained? But I feel like this is the next version of that, where you do as well have the same type of ending, where you get of course, the KK, you know, you get the bad guys in that movie. I guess, we're not gonna, do them the favor of saying what they are, but, you do get the bad guys in that movie. Obviously, getting what they rightfully deserve with the twin getting revenge on him at the end of the movie. And of course, obviously, Django getting revenge iconically at the end of that movie as well. I guess, of course, Django is a movie about revenge, where that becomes an element of the movie. And to me, and again, it is also just the newness of the movie in some ways, and the movie to me as well too is undoubtedly better than Django. I guess you could say, is MBJ's performance in Sinners better than Jamie Foxx in Django? Hey yo, I never even thought about that. But I think it is a little bit of a less complicated watch as well too, in some respects. And maybe there's other performances in that movie that, again, if you just say like, who's acting their little butt off, like somebody's, definitely going for it. But I feel like, again, like this movie does need to be the next thing that is majorly shouted out as well. And we've talked about things that have, are we the ones that have talked about things that have needed to be shouted out in lyrics? But I feel like, I guess our movies, am I saying that correctly? Are our movies lacking in references in hip hop? And I'm trying to think, I guess, now I'm not going to be the best at, pulling lyrics from history. But I feel like, I guess, the obvious example of I feel like the number one most sampled movie of all time, Ayo. And shout out, I'm Not a Lyricist, beautiful track as well, too. So, again, I guess now that the conversation has shifted, we're chilling out. Again, it's working. Maybe Baby Keem's just dictating the mood. We don't even, pause. Maybe he's controlling the mood, Ayo. And we don't even realize it here. Is this Keem or is this a feature? Is that Kendrick again? Wait a second, let me pause real quick. Pause! Mute? I'm mute? Okay, we're back. It's not Kendrick. Ayo. I'm just hearing ghosts at this point. I'm like Drake May in the Super Bowl. I'm just hearing Kendrick, seeing Kendrick everywhere. I guess that's the opposite though, because that was seeing ghosts in the Super Bowl is like a bad thing. I guess, hearing Kendrick on a track is a good thing. It is what it is. But I was gonna say, Ayo, drum roll, the most, I would guess maybe the most sampled, the most mentioned movie scene. Well, I guess now thinking about all the gangster movies as well too, Scarface and Carlito's Way and things like that. But I was gonna say, is Run Ricky Run like the most iconic movie line thing that's been sampled? Hey yo, here we go, chat. Too Short, sex appeal. Ooh, we got Baby Keem, a bouncy little track here. What's he trying to do here, chat? Hey yo, is he trying to get in the clubs? I guess. Get on the aux, of course. Get on the speakers where? It's definitely a fun vibe. That's for sure. And it's been a good balance so far of, the energy on one song has been pretty good. Again, kind of laid back on the next one. Highway 95 Part 2. You know, Highway 95, of course, takes from an iconic hip-hop song, and this song does have, you know, a little bit more of an upbeat to it. So maybe he is kind of laying back out again, more lyrical on that next one, and then Circus Circus Freestyle, maybe kind of going, you know, back to back there with the lyrical cuts. Pause. But this is kind of, you know, Skate on Jid's album. This kind of has a similar vibe to that. I think a lot of people, I think, have been going for the Rich Baby Daddy type of sample when it in that type of production. I think, you know, obviously some of the Cash Cobain stuff going on there, but I think that type of sound in a club song, I feel like a lot of there's been some similar attempts to maybe capture that, or you know, I don't know. There's just maybe we're just, you know, trying to force some similarities there. I don't know, but you know, again, Skate is another track that I feel like is in that lane, but then also off of this new DaBaby album as well too. Pop, is it Pop That Thing? Is a song that I feel like really sounds like it's in that lane as well too. So this again plays perfectly in a track run kind of like that. Is fun. Oh, Too Short chat sliding on the beat. Hey yo, do we have is Too Short got the best, you know, cadence of a feature so far? I mean, shout out to Kendrick, but did we expect the Kendrick run to be dethroned by Too Short chat? It is what it is. We got to pull up the Too Short lyrics. Shout out, but you know, we'll get back to, I guess, mentioning Sinners. That will be a fun thing though. I guess, again, there's two things that I think of specifically that I honestly can't even say the second one. It is what it is. I feel like I would have to use it in a sentence, and it would have to be the bar of bars, because it's wild. And I think if I'm saying wild, you know, what could be a wild reference from that movie? I think we all know what we're saying. We all know what we're saying. So I'm sure there's vampire corollaries. I feel like Delroy Lindo's name, like Delroy Lindo's just got a great name. Like it should just be Delroy Lindo. It should just be something that people are shouting out in songs. But hey, we need to get this Too Short verse here and see what we had. We got fun little chorus. Too much sex appeal. Okay, Baby Keem. You know, he's basically Baby Keem, Baby Drake. What's his name? He's Kendrick and Drake both, I guess. I don't know. She's got sex appeal because she only likes sex and pills. Oh, chat. Keem, who, you know, hey, yo. He's just otherworldly, an out-of-body experience. Late night come chill, babe. Reason why I can't sit still, babe. I mean, it rhymes, so it works. What do we got? When she jumped off the porch, it had to be real pee. All in her ear. Hey yo, is that the Too Short or is that Keem? Oh, that was Too Short. Hey yo, shout out, his verse starts. It's Too Short. Should we just let me see if I can switch over to the lyrics here, and we might have to do a breakdown of this Too Short verse. And this is the Highway 95 Part 2 track in the background next. So it is him going back to being in the kind of laid back lane of music. I guess we weren't able to identify the Luther sample earlier, so I can't identify what iconic sample this is. I'm assuming a part 2 of a part 1 that was like, you know, it's got to be something along those lines, but we can double check that as well. But let's see. It's Too Short out here winning with the gang. We got had that little church girls. Oh, we're back, chat. Send it. You never get her back from me when she jumped off the porch. It had to be real pee. All in her ear. You lucky if you end up here with me, cause I don't waste no time. All the out here, they wish they was mine, but F them. I don't want none. I try to see where this new man come from. I heard about that when she touched down. New battle in town, looking like she know how to get it. You fall in love with these women, but they fall in love with this pimpin'. So shout out. Do we have to compare that to the Kendrick? I guess they both did mention Sinners in a way. Is Too Short's, you know, maybe his reference is, you know, again, it's a little bit more, you know, it's obviously you gotta really do the work, I guess, to uncover the meaning. But shout out. It was definitely a fun addition to the track list there. So, hey, yo, you know, this Keem album, I mean, you know, shout out. It's a short track list. It's an easy easy listen. You know, we're basically, 75%, 80% of the way at this point. I guess only a 36-minute runtime. So like we said, yeah, spin it. Speaking of Playboi Carti, spin it 3 times, and we get one Playboi Carti album equals, or one Playboi Carti album equals 3 Baby Keem albums. Hey yo, but regardless, like we're saying, the quality has definitely been here from this track as well too. I mean, I think there was probably a reason. I'm sure the track list order is very, very intentional. Like I'm sure the track, the title track as well too. Again, I'm sure it's all very intentional, that as a great song, and just a great, very accessible, playable song in, again, these type of speaker settings is, I'm sure there's a reason it's that second track, right after, maybe even if you say track 1, if no security is like an intro, track 0 type of situation, even though it's a little bit longer, and it is, even though, it is actually like a real song, it's not like just, some random quote unquote type intro. But I do think that is probably, so far, the best song off of the album, pretty easily. Though House Money was pretty fun again as well too. I guess we were talking over that one, but that one was there. And I guess this is, chat. I mean, we're speaking too soon. We gotta. I was just, Circus Freestyle. I guess I just thought he was gonna be in his fields. But is the $sign in the track list? Is that the key? Because I guess Sam Hill with Too Short had that as well too. Is this just this whole brand is inspired by Too Short? We didn't even realize. But the $sign symbols is, maybe just direct homage. It is what it is. But the horns here, chat. Hey yo. Oh, what do we just still got the? Who produced is a good question. Who produced Sex Appeal by Baby Keem? That's a good question. Who's he talking about? But is this where's this track called Tubi? Because I don't see this on Spotify. Do we have to pause this real quick? Am I going to pause Circus Freestyle right before the beat drop? Nope. There it is. It is what it is. Oh, is this lyric from Snippet? Oh, it's just called Tubi? I'm a bed breaker. She a bread taker? And Shay Ekru. Oh, I skipped over. It is what it is. We're back. Oh, right on the beat drop. Shout out. That happens occasionally on the aux. If I'm ever in charge of the aux, there is definitely going to be a time where I fat finger and click on an album or skip a song or something. It is what it is. I feel like it hasn't been in like a major group setting at this point, but definitely if we're like in the car or just like hanging out in like a living room somewhere, like I'm definitely going to fat finger the aux situation at some point. It's never going to be like, all of a sudden we're in a completely different, like, it'll be me like searching for the next song, and I'll just like accidentally click something, and so it'll just be usually just pivoting into the next song. I guess we haven't done like a, ayo, like we're playing Circus Freestyle, and the next thing Party in the USA comes, even though that would obviously it'd be a hit. We're not saying that would be a bad thing, just as maybe a sonic pivot. I don't know, what would be a little bit of a different lane, but regardless, again, I guess what we should say was, so there we just happened there that time. But I guess, if you can quickly skip back and then somehow like, move that time bar over to just like land like kind of right where you were at. It's like, wait a second, that never happened. We're right back. We're going again. But yeah, shout out. If Tubi's gonna be mentioned, then we've got to at least check out what these lyrics are gonna be. But another little beat switch here on Circus Freestyle. Definitely keeping us guessing with the production so far on the album. And you can definitely, this is like a, and again, I don't even know I guess because obviously Kendrick is Kendrick, it is going to be paying homage to Kendrick. I'm not giving Baby Keem too much credit, probably a little bit, but you can just hear the definite cadence. It is what it is. I mean, the aggressive nature, he's definitely attacking the beat very, very strongly. So you got to give him credit there. Obviously, I think it would be fun in his own right in some ways. And again, obviously it's difficult maybe, if Kendrick is just taking Keem's best things from his artistry, then, how is Keem gonna, what moves does Keem gonna have that are gonna be new? But I guess this is kind of that classic Baby Keem cadence right here, right here as well. But it would be interesting. Obviously, it's important, I guess, maybe for him to continue to just make sure that his own thing, I guess, maybe is kind of out there a little bit as well. But again, he's been definitely mixing it up through the course of this album. Obviously, just that one little section, we're just saying, oh, is there a similarity there? It's just like, obviously, if this was the whole thing, then pause, and that would be, maybe something to keep in mind. Where it's just like, are we just getting, again, do you want to say a lesser Kendrick album? But, it's like, okay, it's like, is he just going to do the Kendrick thing over and over again? But I guess, the point maybe should be, again, he hasn't necessarily done that. So when there has been a moment of overlap in a definite way like that, it is, it's like, oh, there is that similarity there. And, in some ways as well, too, again, Kendrick is just the number one artist, and, number two, rank it. He's an A1 artist, a tier 1 artist at this point. So there is just going to be influences and people borrowing from him. Speaking of Jid, I mean, listening to his newest album, I know I listened to an interview where it said he recorded a lot of that around the time of the Forever Story, but you listen to Work, and there's a part on Work where it sounds like he's just like taking the cadence like straight out of Euphoria, the Kendrick diss track, obviously. So, again, it's not a bad thing for these guys to, be borrowing inflections and cadences and styles and rhythms from each other. Hey, yo, whoa. Hey, yo, pause. But, again, obviously you got to make sure you're bringing your own creative stuff, I guess, just to help stand out as well, too. So, you bring in Too Short and you get a hook going like Too Much Sex Appeal. I think that's definitely a, shout out, a top track that is going to be replayed for us. I mean, you laugh at us now, chat, but we're always playing the tracks off of the album that you don't think we are. We're playing just the random tracks that everybody's hating on. It is what it is. Is Diamond Girl going to be a hated on track? I don't think so. I think the vibey melodic thing going on here is definitely going to be a hit. Shout out. Seems like it's a pretty well constructed, pretty easy song to listen to here. And I guess shout out, if Keem is the melodic performance here, then he is definitely doing a good job there as well too. Yeah, see, just like a bouncy little song here at the end of the track list. Definitely a little bit more of a, I'm going to say this critically. Sometimes you say a rapper does a pop attempt. It's like, oh, Baby Keem, what's he not? Hey, yo, did he let Nas down by doing a pop attempt? Like, what's happening? Like, every time an artist has to drop a song that they want to be played on the radio, it's like, let Nas down, let Big L down. Every lyricist, and, would MF Doom be proud if he made a pop attempt? But it's like, maybe just make a fun song sometimes as well, too. And this is a vibey track. This is a vibey track. It, again, is a good, nice balance of the types of songs in this track list as well, too. So, and, if we were playing this album from start to finish, just running this track list back, this is a great, again, just a great compliment to the list of songs that we got going here. I mean, the Melodic Blue is a pretty strong body of work looking back at it. And wait, am I looking at no, the original was 16, and then the deluxe has, who is Hooligan only on the deluxe? The Hooligan's, the deluxe is 26, and Highway 95 is on the deluxe as well, too. I guess we do, in some ways, have our own version of the album saved into the playlist as well. So, hey, yo, definitely even dropping a couple of his best just overall songs in the deluxe part of the Melodic Blue. So will there be a deluxe to this, I guess, is the question, if that is a format. Are we bringing back the Kendrick questions now? I guess it's a question for any album, of course. Where's the deluxe? Two more for you. Shout out LeBron. Hey, thanks to LeBron for the idea of the deluxe. It is what it is. So will Baby Keem take LeBron's idea and drop a couple more albums, or drop a couple more songs? But so if he dropped, 10 more for the Melodic Blue, would he do like 5 or 6 more? Would he do 9 more would get him to 20. 4 more gets him to 15. I guess, obviously now we're just, Rem and Sam can do basic math. But, if he gives us 6 more songs, 17 tracks on a deluxe version, I could see something like Baby Keem do stuff like that. Again, playback. Casino. Sorry for to wait. Could be the second version of. It could be the deluxe version. Maybe, I don't know if that's already been taken, but a nice introspective cut here at the end to wrap up the track list. So shout out Baby Keem. I mean, and to go forth, I guess, pause in the year 2026, especially now, no time to even sit with the albums that we just dropped. Like, with as good as this album is gonna be, like, again, like we're saying, it's gonna be added into the list of rotations of these albums that we've been waiting for, and these artists that, with all due respect to Keem, again, like, Don Toliver is working in a little bit of a different tier at this point, so there is just a little bit of a different type of anticipation for that album. That album is just maybe being played a little bit more. Again, Rocky and Cole, like, you just know you're gonna be bumping songs off of these projects, regardless. Again, I guess not regardless. Obviously, I guess, is there a version where it's just like, okay, there's nothing else I'm listening to? I guess, again, what album has been that good? Even, as you might say, Good Kid, Mad City. Well, it's like Good Kid, Mad City also did drop, like, the heist was technically better. No, obviously not. But again, were you not listening to Take Care back in the day because Good Kid, Mad City dropped? Obviously not. I mean, I was gonna say, is Thriller the only album where it's just like, okay, I guess we don't need music for the next 2 years. Like, we just have Thriller now. It is what it is. But I guess, I don't know every song that was released between like 82 and 84. So I'm guessing we got a couple more hits. Thriller was 82, right? Am I crazy? Am I a bad person for not knowing what year it released? Pause. Whoa. Hey, yo. Oh, I clicked on the album. Or I clicked on the song instead of the album. It is what it is. I didn't mean to do that. Shout out the album. But shout out to Baby Keem as well, too. We'll get this album queued back up here. We will, I guess, listen to Thriller probably, later as well. But here, we make sure that I guess we didn't quickly go back, like we said, and cue that song back up. But wait, we didn't even see what year it was as well, too. So wait, the album, yeah, I guess November 30th of 82. So at the end of the year. So, 83 to 85. Again, I'm sure we got a couple more classic records during that time. But obviously, that album was that album. So I don't know how many albums have dropped where it's like, again, we don't need music. But, for the most part, that he's having to compete with an immediately top of the year, stacked rotation. Like last year, we had the Weeknd drop the album early, and then Drake, obviously, with some Sexy Songs for You. That was like Valentine's Day last year. So there was, I think, a month in between both of those albums. And I'm trying to think, just, that general first quarter of the year last year was a little bit slower. And then, August was really crazy just in terms of volume. The last couple of years, that's obviously been maybe the more voluptuous. Hey, yo. Is that the right way to describe the voluptuous month? Hey, yo. But for this year, obviously, like we're saying, Q1 has been stacked with music. We'll see. Will August be, not as stacked as it's been the last couple of years because these guys have, shifted to more at the beginning of the year. Obviously, we'll just have to see how the year plays out. We're not going to complain because at the end of the day, we've still gotten classic music. But point being, immediately competing with these guys, bold move in some ways. But also, I think it does, like we're saying, if you drop a banger, if you drop some songs that can be played in these playlists with these music, then, it's great as well, too. Because, like I'm saying, now I can queue up that Baby Keem song with that Don Toliver song with that A$AP Rocky song. And now now we're going. 2026 is firing off with great music and, again, great projects to revisit from a totality standpoint here as well. But, I mean, Keem, shout out, is right there with these guys for the quality, cohesiveness, body of work factor. And, definitely, a great project here after having to, hear about not dropping music for a while. So shout out. Hopefully, the Baby Keem people out there are able to feast off of this for a while. And they're, like we're saying, are definite tracks. I mean, Casino, easy number one. That's not, disrespect to the rest of the track list. It is what it is. Oh, look at that. We just naturally queued up Good Flirts with Kendrick. I mean, see, second time through, immediately the album's getting better, Chad. It is what it is. I mean, that's the point of the album as well. But like you said, you always listen to that first time with intrigue. as well. It's like, okay, what even is this? And then you gotta now actually that now that you know, you go, you spin it back, you figure it out. We know what's going on. We're learning the words. Familiarity's there. So, I mean, the vibe here is definitely going to be something that I think we'll figure out where this fits into the scale of the musical, the cycle of the day. I guess I don't necessarily know quite where to place it. Like, I guess is that an important thing with every track? I don't know. But again, like we're saying with Casino, I immediately know, driving back from the gym, like we're gonna be queuing that. I mean, maybe even at the gym as well too. That's the perfect crazy energy song like that. But this one, maybe, I don't know, eating breakfast afterwards. Hey, I guess we'll dive back into the lyrics and see if it's appropriate. Would we just maybe just sex appeals on rotation the entire day? I don't know, but Circus Freestyle was great as well too. That's going to be another one that we could just, have in that run of crazy aux bangers. But yeah, shout out to Baby Keem. Great job with Casino. The Remington Pod stamp of approval. That is for sure. But we will take a quick break. And then, like we said, we got the Bleacher Report list of top 100 NBA players of the season so far to scan through, get an update. All-Star break happened this past weekend, of course. The reset for the second half of the season is upon us here. So we will get a sense of the landscape of the league and, I guess, continue to brag about San Antonio going forward. So stay tuned. We got NBA rankings right after this. All right, we are back. Top 99, top 100. I think we can maybe just add one as well too. I don't know, honorable mentions. Maybe. I mean, I'm sure we probably know. We can separate the tiers between the top of the league and the more honorable mention types of players. But regardless, there is 99 guys on this Bleacher Report list here to look at and see who they have ranked. And I guess for me, I have not necessarily been thinking about player rankings specifically as much in the past, where it was sort of the direct comparison and 1-for-1 versus this player versus this player. Obviously, the Spurs having Wemby now, we just have the best player in the league, so there really is no comparison left to be made. But again, and I don't know if the league salary cap rules and the way that they have constricted team building to be, you could just say obviously, simply more difficult. But with the rules that have been implemented and have, I guess, well, maybe another way you could say it, they've had to make it more strategic as well too. Have to be really strategic with how you build your teams. It does really emphasize, and like we're saying, I mean, maybe in the past, you could pair up players that, again, were obviously, maybe the 1 and the 2 best player in the league. At this point, they would have to be just in the timeline of their contracts having to work out with, the best player in the league, like Wemby, becomes the best player in the league on his 4th year of his rookie deal, while also, Jokic is on the same team, signed as a max guy. Again, like we're saying, the league is more constricted now with the amount of great players or, quote unquote, highly paid players that you can have on your roster because of the second apron rules. But it's not obviously with building a team necessarily, again, directly important for having the 6th best player in the league in this rankings versus the 12th best player in the league. It's obviously about chemistry. It's about how the guys are able to function together. It's about, health in term. It's about mental, and I guess you say that lightly, I don't want to say that lightly, but it's just about mindset as well too. It's about timing in the league, about everybody being at the right spot in their career, like we're saying, with all those things. Like there's so much more obviously that goes into it than just, again, like the best player rankings in terms of winning the title. So, again, maybe it's been, a little bit more vaguely just looking at the league and kind of, keeping an eye on who do we think is sort of the acquirable talent, or not the acquirable talent, but, who is in that title winning tier and who is not. Because, and I guess, maybe that's a, like an old school, like, first take way to say it. But, again, it's like sometimes it's like, okay, do I believe this guy is, like I'm saying, the 24th best player in the league? But, and, now we're getting into trade value rankings. But it's like, do I think that there are 20, are you less likely to win the title with this guy? If you're, if Josh Hart is, the 4th best player, until I guess, obviously New York is having struggles with that right now, and the league is pretty good. So maybe even now, that might be a scenario where maybe that is actually a situation you might have to look at. But, it's like, okay, if this guy is your 4th best player, does he have to be the 30th best guy in the league for your team to be stacked? Or, can you still do a version of the player ranking where this guy maybe ranks like, I don't know, 82. But it's like, I don't know, maybe this guy at 82 is actually, if he's on my team, I'm okay with that. And it works out. So I guess, again, point being, we're not, at least this year, in a player ranking. Turner being in the 100, I'm assuming is a good thing. Obviously, there's a version of Turner's career, version of Turner's game. Ayo, buffering. We got the Wi-Fi buffering in the studio. So hopefully we're good to go. Connecting 1, 2, 3. I think we're back. But I think, again, Milwaukee, obviously, you wouldn't necessarily look at their roster and think how many top 100 players is on Milwaukee. But he is still going to be under contract there for a couple years. So you don't have Giannis. Again, he's a piece. Like, ayo, pause. But is obviously, do you have him there for winning the title? Is he going to be, again, on another team that makes a run like Indiana? Do you have to construct a team in a similar way, like yada, yada, yada? But he could either be, again, a guy that outplays his contract. I guess he could be a guy that underplays his contract as well, too. But he could outplay his contract, or he could be a larger salary that you move into a trade deal. Like, I think there is value to having him there. If you're planning on tanking and rebuilding, there is value to having Miles Turner at $20 million a year. So 99, I mean, shout out. Again, he's obviously able to still perform as well, too. Preseason rank 59. Okay, so he's sliding on the list, but he's not out of the top 100 yet. So shout out. Highest ranked 74, lowest unranked. Levine at 98. Sacramento, is he the highest ranked king on this list? I guess Sabonis. This season, however, so both Levine and Sabonis have been, they're out for the rest of the year. So I guess will Sabonis be playing, or will he be ranked on this list for his play this year up until this point? Or is he just disqualified now as an out for the year type of guy? But Levine also, somebody ranked him 75. So shout out. I guess, the percentages, you still, like, there is a scoring thing with LaVine that has obviously been good on paper over the last handful of years. And, obviously that could just, the classic good, what is it? Good stats, bad team guy that is floated out there. But, regardless, sometimes with the good stats, bad team guy, again, there's like a very definite, oh yeah, you can see this guy is taking like 22 field goal attempts a game. Like he might not necessarily, again, be the most efficient scorer. Where Zach LaVine has been, and I guess, 47.9 is actually like a little bit lower. I feel like he's been near 50% over the last couple of years, and again, near 40 for 3. So you do have to give him respect there. And he still hasn't played with anybody besides DeRozan over the last couple of years. So I guess you can't necessarily stay, like, assuming he's fairly paid. Ayo, who wouldn't want a guy that's fairly paid? A guy that plays well and he's fairly paid. Yes, the league, we all want players that play well and are fairly paid. But assuming, he's not massively, he doesn't have like a massively crippling contract at this point, like I wouldn't be bummed out if the Spurs got Zach LaVine. It's like, okay, again, you still look at the numbers. He's still good. Oh, LeBron rolling around the court. Oh, okay, I think it's just classic LeBron behavior. Hey, I think he's taking a break. It is what it is. The closed captioning says they're going to the monitor to see if it's being upgraded for a flagrant foul. So wait, let me get the replay here. Ayo, LeBron's on the floor. We have to check it out. Oh, yep. Ayo, it is what it is. Shout out. I think he'll be okay. But I think the flagrant would be the intentionality. The number 14 for the Clippers just elbowed him in the ribs. So I guess that would hurt as well too. Obviously, if he got the pointy elbow like right in the ribs. Like that will probably knock the wind out of you a little bit for sure. Bruised ribs definitely. I mean, bruised ribs is a couple weeks recovery. Make no mistake. If it is to that level, but also I think again he'll probably be. I guess at 41, can he take an elbow to the ribs? It is what it is. Pause. But I guess to go back to Zach LaVine, like, the Lakers would easily be the best team. Like Luka, like if Zach LaVine was playing with Luka, like how is that not? I guess that's better for Zach LaVine, but it's like. And, again, are you going to win the title with Zach LaVine as your second best player? I get it, but I guess will I stand on this? I think you win the title with Zach LaVine as your third best player. There we go. I said it, chat. It is what it is. So I know, the Kings don't have the first or the second or the fourth or the fifth or they don't have the 1 through, what do we say, the 1 through 2 and then the 3 through the 9 to be able to pull that off. Pause. But they do have Zach LaVine, who could be, again, the third best player, I think, on a title team. So I guess could it be Shea? Like I think you could win. And I guess you could win the title with maybe just Shea and Jalen Williams as well too, at potentially the level that they can play at. But I think it could be LaVine. Let me rephrase. I think it could be Shea, Jalen Williams, and LaVine that could potentially win a title, like a group like that, or again obviously pair them with the best players. But again, these are the guys that win the title. So I think as a teammate to one of those guys, I guess my point is he doesn't hold it back. Like would he have been this is the hot take here, Chad. Would he have been more successful over the last couple of years in Milwaukee? Would you have rather have had him in Milwaukee than Dame Lillard over the last couple of years? Like, I know you wouldn't necessarily say that right off the bat and think, obviously, the best version of Dame, you would take that over, a lot of guys in the league. Pause. But I'm just saying the levels that they did play at over the last couple of years, would LaVine have been more beneficial for that team? Again, it's just a question. It's just a question, that looks better on paper as well too. Again, I think with what Dame can do operating some of the high pick and roll stuff offensively, again, the upside of that, unquestionably better. But again, with what we actually got on paper, efficiency night to night, like I think, again, it would be interesting just to obviously see him with better teammates. So, he is, 30 right now? Like, I think there is I think there is a 31 to 34 type of run for LaVine here. And I think he can still, again, are you getting 27 points a game from Zach LaVine? But I honestly wonder if that is, not better as well too. I need to actually watch and see. I guess it doesn't even matter if he's athletically the same guy. Again, if you're good at basketball, you're good at basketball. So if he can go out there and score efficiently still in his late 30s, like, and then not be too detrimental on defense, then, the point is, like, don't write him off as a guy. I guess if Kamara's 97, like, Kamara, I think, could be the best guy in a title team. So, but, again, he's obviously a guy that we value here as a role player as well, too. So definitely different games. but I would not discredit Zach LaVine as, a valuable part of the league. And not to say that, again, I would assume that if their ranking performance is up, I guess how many games does Sabonis play? But Sabonis is obviously at his best a top 100 player in the league, just offensively as well. But I would say, LaVine in the backcourt, I don't know, the wings and stuff now, you do need the two-way capability there, but I don't know, is LaVine is it more likely that you could win the title with LaVine or with Sabonis? I guess, again, it just depends on how good the roster is. But Kamara, where was he? Preseason ranked at 76. Hey, yo. So I guess, maybe not living up to the hype. It is what it is. Highest rank at 63. So, a portion of the staff here at Bleacher Report, not necessarily a fan of Kamara's game. But, and, defensively as well, he has been, a menace at times in the league. I think offensively still steps forward he could take, but, shout out again, still looking like a valuable player. Vassell at 96. So I don't know if Harper's going to make the list, as a top 100 player in the league. He's obviously, trade value ranking, a top 100 asset in the league. Hey, yo. But also, another way of saying that, top 100 potential, like the best version of Dylan Harper. If we're ranking the best version of every player in the league, then obviously, the best version of Dylan Harper is a top 100 player as well, too. So that could be 4 for San Antonio, 4 top 100 players. But again, I don't know if Dylan Harper is like there right now. So maybe 3 guys currently on the list, because Castle is obviously going to be on the list as well, too. Am I leaving off like Luke Cornett or, I guess Keldon Johnson could be in the list, but I don't think Keldon Johnson's quite offensively, what Vassell is. So I don't know if the writers will quite give him that ranking. But 96, where was his preseason unranked? So that is obviously stock up for him, but I still think even 96 is a little bit lower than what he could be. Obviously 35% from 3. Like, there's a version where Vassell is in the playoffs, like a 39% from 3-point type of guy, because that even is, I guess, even 38 for him. If he's 38%, like, that's still not even, quote unquote, like, great, just looking at it on paper. But from where he's at, just in the Spurs as a 3-point shooting team in general, I've been, able to have pretty efficient games this year for sure. So with where he's at, that would definitely be, obviously able to make the offense more dangerous, but then just raise his sort of overall value in the league as well. Oh, how am I forgetting Fox, Chad? Ayo, there's so many guys on this team. Ayo, we're just so stacked with guys. It is what it is. And Fox literally on the All-Star. The commissioner had to call the All-Star and be like, get De'Aaron Fox in the game. What are we doing here? So, 5 guys potentially in the top 100 for San Antonio. Trust me, I have a Spurs take as well. I guess we'll just have to see how many Thunder guys are in the top 100 here. And Denver guys as well, just in terms of the Western Conference competition. I guess, of course, New York is going to have, a bunch of guys ranked as well, though. I don't know. Are we scared because the Knicks were able to get us in the Commissioner Cup? I'm just going to call it the Commissioner Cup. It is what it is. I don't want to steal the term from the WNBA, but shout out. The WNBA, I guess, got there first. So I guess we're paying homage. It's what I think of. I don't think of the in-season tournament. I think of the Commissioner's Cup. So, shout out. Are we scared because they got us in the Commissioner's Cup? But, I don't necessarily think so. And you would assume the Spurs hopefully just get better as the year goes. But Cason Wallace, 95, of course, his value as a two-way player, it would hopefully continue to go up as his minutes would go up. But, his efficiency, I guess, hasn't necessarily been there this season in general. But defensively, of course, a menace as well in the backcourt. Tari, I guess the Rockets, we're leaving off the Rockets in terms of stacked roster. So, we know it's going to be Durant, Sengun, and Thompson have to be ranked. And Tari Eason's now making the top 100. And there's going to be another guy as well, too, that I'm forgetting about. That would be their highest ranked 75 at one point. Again, we're seeing the two-way wings from the winning teams being paid respect here. Okay, DeRozan, shout out. How can I write DeRozan off as a top 100 player? I guess they're just leaving the field goal percentages off. It doesn't matter. Don't look at those. But, 18 a game is okay. Season hasn't gone well for the Kings, but they have 2 top 100 players. I guess, that's being generous because both of them are in the 90s. And his highest rank was 75 or 85. So, again, it's not like people were like making the case for him to be super high up the list, but regardless, a couple of good, like, it is it is still baffling to me. I guess it's not baffling. Again, it's like, the Kings have the number 1 pick. That's not super surprising, but it is just, I guess, again, a testament to the league. I think it is a legitimate testament to the league that, again, the Kings are the worst team. Like Zach LaVine, like I'm saying, is a good basketball player right now. Like DeRozan is still in ways a good basketball player. Obviously, like again, chemistry and all these things, like we're saying, do matter. But it is still, like Keegan Murray is a good basketball player. I guess, we also could just be viewing positively, where these guys have been in the past. Like, hopefully Keegan Murray is still a good basketball player. I guess is maybe the better way to phrase it. But I guess Keegan Murray is going to be on this list as well too. So, again, obviously it just like is somehow Sacramento. This is just, it's not going well. But again, this collection of talent, individually, all those guys make sense somewhere else. But again, I wouldn't take any. I think it is probably the most uninspiring. The collective starting 5 trade value. Again, age does matter there as well too. But it is also, on the other hand, I can't admit, again, the trade value of that collective lineup is probably not good. There's not probably another starting 5 that I'm trading for it. Like I was saying, even the way, I guess Brooklyn would be the other case. But again, at least Brooklyn guys, are on rookie contracts. And Porter Jr. has been balling out this year as well too. So I don't know, you just get Porter Jr. and Igor Denham, and I guess why are we still, making the case for Igor Denham? I don't know. It is what it is. But you get at least you just get, to be in New York. Maybe that just wins the day. I'm not sure. But again, both things can be true. Like the guys can be, again, still to some degree good basketball players, and it's like that lineup just can't compete with these other lineups. Zach LaVine, I guess. If he goes to Charlotte and gets benched, it's like, obviously he couldn't play. And I don't know, does he need to be with more veteran guys as well too? It feels like that pairing is, kind of, I don't know, it just seems like the basketball fits there. Seem to overlap a little bit better. I like Phoenix, like if he was traded for Jalen Green, and maybe he becomes a little overwhelming, and like you don't want to necessarily like Zach LaVine does that become a scenario where now he again is the best offensive player or has to take those like number 1 offensive responsibilities again if he's in Phoenix. But a team like that where, again, he's worth a collection of guys. I guess, again, that's not him playing with one of those. I guess Booker, if he's healthy, obviously one of those stars. Him and Booker though, that'd be interesting. Again, obviously, title, but Western Conference, like that would make them more scary. Like I wouldn't be less scared of Phoenix if they had traded Jalen Green for Zach LaVine at the trade deadline, I guess is the point. So I guess shout out. We're really making the case for Zach LaVine. It is what it is. 92 for Paul George. I guess, pre the suspension, the 25-game suspension. But again, it's been, a decent, contributor for him as well too. Shout out that starting 5 has, started to form a little bit of chemistry there as the season goes. VJ Edgecombe, 91. I think just the trade value, the points in the timeline where they're at, maybe just paying respect to the rookie there, giving him the top spot. But also, it's had moments where has maybe actually just been better as well too. Reed Shepherd making the top 100. So there's the other Rockets guy that we forgot about. I guess I don't know if 90. I guess he's getting close to unranked. Not being disrespectful. I mean, again, his game will continue to go up as well too. He's just going to continue to get better. So he'll continue to make his way up the list. But right now, so the Rockets will also have a starting 5 or a 5-man lineup, I guess, of the top 100. And again, Van Fleet would obviously help this team as well, too. There's not, I guess, a case where they wouldn't help the team. But, I guess, and not to say that, would you want Van Fleet out for like 3 months instead of the year? But there is a version of it where, again, it's like, hey, the fact that Reed Shepherd's playing well, obviously, is best case scenario for this for your team to make up for that kind of loss. But like we talked about, for them getting that win in the draft as well too, and for them having the potential contract flexibility now to be able to have the option to commit more to him as the option, if they want to trade Van Fleet or something in the future, again, that pick just becomes that emergence of him as a legitimate player in the team, obviously is, a great development as well too. Draymond still at 89. Hey, yo, way higher than we thought. Did anybody have him unranked? Okay, people did have him unranked. So I guess you hate to see it, obviously. I guess we'll say you hate to see it, but, you quote unquote, in some ways you hate to see it. I guess what do you hate to see of the fall off of a legendary player? again, Draymond, obviously, there is the there is the fact that, I don't know, you need some of the minutes of him not being the best in the league to, poke fun at him a little bit for sometimes some of the controversial stuff that he was doing. Again, basketball controversial stuff that he was doing over the course of his career. But again, on the other end, somebody had him 73. So he is still, a guy that can contribute as well, too. You can't necessarily write him off totally. Kobe White, 88. Shout out, Charlotte Hornets have him in the mix. And he hasn't even necessarily, I think, been super crazy for that team. But, it's just another option that they have as well, too. Caruso at 87 for the Thunder. In his performance and that was, again, going back to Commissioner's Cup, that was, I think, another Commissioner's Cup game where, was that the closest game so far that the Spurs and the Thunder have played? That was the first time they had matched up this season. So I don't know, was OKC actually more confident in that game than going into the other ones? I'm not sure, but Caruso did almost single-handedly win that finals, or win that game. And, going back to the finals, going back to the playoffs, of course, was super impactful for him. And of course, Caruso is a perfect example, again, of 87th on the list, but obviously, Caruso was legitimately at times their third best guy on that title team. So he is ranked over Levine on this list, so that is fair, again, if we're bringing his name back for comparison purposes. But is, again, like we're saying, is there a case where you're ranking the individual talent? Obviously, you can get to 87 by the time you can get to Alex Caruso. But again, if your roster can go, he can be the three guys. There can be three guys in your team, or not three guys in your team, but you can have a team where, and I guess, again, from we get the Thunder or stack team, but regardless, there are moments where Caruso's playing crazy and almost winning an individual playoff series. And, again, that 87 ranking is lowest ranking 108. Ayo, so they've got some honorable mention type spots here to call out as well. Claxton at 86. Maybe Caruso should just be higher up on the list as well, too. Maybe we just make the case for that. Hey, shout out to Nick Claxton. I guess no disrespect there. But, shout out again. We've seen the playoff impact from Caruso in minutes. Dyson Daniels, I guess, I don't know. Caruso better offensively than Daniels. Is Caruso 13% from three? Daniels is, again, a very athletic, got the 6'7" frame here, AO, can get to the basket. The fact that he is 49% from the field while being 13% from three does show you, again, he is effective, at least inside the three-point line. But I think he is actually just having, with that being said, it says here, quote, and again, we're just quoting this article, but it says Daniels may be the worst three-point shooter in the entire NBA. And I think there's some historical NBA three-point numbers as well, too, that are looking pretty crazy. It says only Jarrett Allen is lower, and Jarrett Allen's 1 for 9. And again, Jarrett Allen's literally a center who is not a perimeter center at all. So, again, you don't even include Jarrett Allen in the tier of guys that you would consider, perimeter threats or perimeter game as well. So, again, shout out Dyson Daniels, but, still needing to develop along there. Mark Williams at 84 is, again, another piece for Phoenix as they really invested into that front court in the offseason as well. But Okongwu, 83. So a couple of Hawks players in the tier. Sarr at 82. So almost in the top 80 for Sarr. Preseason unranked is crazy. Of course, I wouldn't say that it wouldn't have been wrong. Again, it wouldn't have, I think you could have ranked him, you could have had him unranked optimistically. I don't know if that would have worked. But, again, it's obviously, only 1 year that he had played, and still just ranking the individual basketball talent. If he's currently the 123rd best player in the league, obviously doesn't mean that, again, he can't continue to move up the list. But the fact that that has been starting to take a turn for the better this year. And again, the Wizards do have some fun guys on the list. Is he the first Wizard that we have? So I don't know if he'll be the only guy from the kind of recent draft classes that are there. Of course, Keshawn George has had some good minutes. And, they did trade Chris Middleton, who did play well tonight. So if they did, of course, if Middleton is 77 or something, then maybe some form. Whereas I guess Davis as well, too, like we're saying, and Trae Young. But, again, those guys aren't playing and have not played for the Wizards yet. So, obviously, the Davis and Sarr thing, hopefully, again, at least it's just fun as well, too. not to say that Davis. So hopefully we're not in a spot where it's like, can Davis live up to any of the expectations? Hey yo, it's like now we're just hoping that he can just get on the court and just play some fun basketball. Hey yo, you don't even need to win games. You don't even need to play center. Like who cares? Like Sarr can play center. I guess it is what it is. Like Sarr not a center compared to Davis, but who cares? Like just play it. It's the Wizards. Like we just need somebody out there. So shout out. But yeah, I guess we'll see if that ever actually ends up happening. I'm we're just hurt, Chad. Hey yo, we're pro Davis on this pod. So we speak because we're hurt. And the lowest he was ranked was top was 100. So consensus top 100 for Sarr. We'll put a positive spin on that. Anthony Black at 81 for Orlando. Of course, with his two-way upside, has been an interesting rotation guy, and has his minutes have continued to increase. Continue to see what his impact would look like as his role, would get bigger. 46% from the field, 34% from three, which is actually, again, it's like at least a step in the right direction. There is a world where, in the draft, it's like, is he going to be, like a Dyson Daniels type of threat? But let's say off of the, Black's offensive progression gives him a real case. He is far more confident working off the dribble, navigating traffic in the half court, and has turned himself into a viable threat from the corners, where he is hitting almost 45% from three from the corner. So at least he is, again, like becoming a threat from the outside in a way. So that obviously will continue to expand the upside of his game. Wiggins at 80, shout out to Norm Powell and Bam Adebayo, obviously, but Norm Powell getting a lot of the All-Star love this year. Third team All-NBA for our guy Norm Powell. We'll see how the second half of the season goes. Tonight they were cooking against the Jazz. I guess we'll see where Norm Powell's ranked. Is he going to be, I guess third team All-NBA would be top 15, but the guard, I guess there is no lineup limits now as well too, but maybe some of the guard competition works for or against him. We'll have to see there. But yeah, Wiggins being a good contributor for this team as well, shout out, just continues to impact these. I mean, not going to be one of the guys that's going to be talked about like that, where it's like, Wiggins impacted everywhere he went, because obviously still up and down results from time to time. But I mean, Warriors were winning with him last time the Warriors were good. Hey, Wiggins was on the team. Who's good now? Miami with Wiggins. And there's obviously that whole story of there was something about Jimmy Butler mentioning Wiggins to Pat Riley, and then it's like, oh, all of a sudden when the trade happens, Wiggins is the one that gets traded for, and it's like, hey, he's a really, really, really solid pause contributor for that team and can step in big moments. Ja Morant, 79. Shout out. At least, people still have him on the list. Preseason rank 33. So, Ayo, I guess, obviously the stock has never been lower, but we're just glad to see Morant is still, shout out. People are still ranking him. People still got him in contention. The highest he was ranked was 69th. So, again, not a consensus top 70 player at all. Is crazy for Ja. Emmanuel quickly, and that is just an interesting style. Like both of them are, quick to the basket type of players. Obviously, I think Ja at the peak of his powers had a lift when he got to the basket that was different than quickly. But right now, with Ja kind of playing a little bit more consistently, you don't want to say under the rim, but again, it's just not the high flyer right now that he has been in the past. They are stylistically kind of similar, and that is interesting to see. Quickly being one spot above him. Again, I think you would. Well, I don't know. You probably wouldn't lean Ja at this point. Again, there's injuries as well too, and I think the league just spoke at the trade deadline. If somebody could have gotten Ja at a discount, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe the Grizzlies weren't willing to budge on what would have been peak Ja trade value at one point. But that is just interesting to see again directly where people compare him to other guys in the league, because Quickly obviously has never been a guy that we would have viewed as, with all due respect to Quickly, we would have never really have had the conversation of, could he lead a team to the title, or face of the league like Ja Morant's is he going to be the face of the league for American basketball? And Ayo, obviously it's like, would you rather have Emmanuel Quickly or Ja Morant on your team? But shout out, hopefully at 79 that means that Ja Morant can still work his way back up the list at some point. But people had Quickly at 50 as well too. So, and I guess we don't know exactly where unranked stops, but at least after 108, or because I think what somebody honorable mention, or was it Caruso, was 108. So John Morant, was somebody maybe had him outside like the top 110, top 120? I don't know. Tyler Hero over Ja? That is interesting. Obviously, night to night is, again, just the whole conversation of it all. But injuries have been there for Hero as well, too. So, again, they're only 2 spots away. But I don't know if that's just, is that just bias? People just obviously, are a little bit out on Ja at this point. Peyton Watson, brings a little bit more of a defined skill set to the team. Is he the first Denver Nugget that we've had on this list? So Denver might see a lot of their guys in the top 75, even in the fact that Peyton Watson is, I guess, almost a top 75 player in the league at this point is crazy. But 49% from the field, 41% from three. I don't know exactly how many threes he is taking, but he's 15 a game. So that offensively, again, he is taking shots. Obviously, shout out. I'm sure Jokic is getting him easy looks time and time again. But the fact that he has developed a clean offensive game like that, I mean, shout out is, pretty crazy, and why they're able to continue to be the competitive team that they are. Jimmy Butler at 75, obviously, unfortunately, done for the year, but was still at least a top 75 player while he was out there for Golden State. So, again, him and Draymond, maybe it shows you why, like we were having the conversations of, I guess where Golden State, we're being optimistic at this point, looking back, I guess, with fond memories, because when these guys were playing, it's like, wait a second, these guys are barely top 80 players in the league at this point, because again, it's like Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond. If those guys are going to be competing for the title, obviously you're hoping that you're going to have still 3 top 30 guys in the league at some point, or Jimmy Butler even being a top 15 to 20 guy in the league. But 75, a little bit different from that. And I guess they don't have his preseason rank on here, but highest ranked was 32 still for this year. So, hey, somebody was liking his game. But Brandon Miller at 74, above Jimmy Butler right now. Would you rather have Brandon Miller or Jimmy Butler? 36% from 3, 42% from the field. So, the offensive game still needs to get cleaned up a little bit. But he has become a consistent 20-point game at score. And like we're saying, this Hornets team is incredibly fun now with these guys. So the Hornets are going to have at least 3 top 75 players as well. Because, well, I guess, is LaMelo going to... LaMelo has to be in the top 75. I would assume maybe somewhere in the 65 to 55 range. I guess we'll see if he's going to be here soon. But then is Cant already a top 40 player in the league? He might be. So, again, Charlotte, the feistiness night tonight. Like, you can see it if they're going into these games with a stacked roster like this, and then have been able to kind of develop kind of some nice depth pieces around him as well, too, to obviously balance out the rotation. But Brandon Miller making an appearance at 74. RJ Barrett at 73. So, the Raptors at the 4 seed. I mean, just being the sneaky team in the Eastern Conference. Barrett, 56% from the field. Hey, yo. I mean, the mid-range game has always been the strength of his game. And then, the 3-point game, 34%. I mean, is he 60% from 2 this year? Hey, yo. RJ Barrett. He just needs we need like like the pat on the back. I don't know if that's crazy, but, like in football, I guess more in college, obviously, but in football, you can have the helmet stickers for good performances. Like we just need like some helmet stickers in basketball, like jersey patches. We need like the bottle cap buttons from Up. Like, we just need to get like the pins. Like, they can win pins for good performances. What is he? I guess 55% from 2. Oh, he's 47% from the field this year. What is this math, chat? Ayo, I guess maybe they meant to say from 2, because yeah, we just said 47. We just looked and said 47%. Okay, shout out. I mean, not to say that is more realistic for Barrett, because he was, 49% from the field in 23-24. So we can't get there. And 47 is really great. I mean, when he was in Toronto, I guess when he first got traded, he was 55% from the field. So again, it is definitely possible. And that was in 32 games, not a small sample size, 32 games to start this year. But yeah, I guess he is 55% specifically from 2, and then 47% overall. So Bleacher Report exposed. That means they probably just used AI to copy and paste all these graphics. It is what it is. I was going to say, again, 56% from the field on 34% from three. I mean, Jokic is 56% from the field, but he's like also 40% from three. So, again, has the overall efficient game. It makes sense why he is near the 60% mark. Otherwise, it's guys like, again, Gobert or, Mitchell Robinson, where it's like, 70% from the field because he's just dunking every shot that he gets. DeAndre Jordan. Nembhard, 72. So the fact that Nembhard is 72, means that he will, of course, not be playing anymore for the Pacers this year because he is too good, and they will be trying to get their pick as high as possible. So shout out, Nembhard, he's got the benched trade value qualification to have for the 2024 season. Like we said, I guess we'll see if Cooper Flagg is able to earn that as well for the Mavs. Asar Thompson for the Pistons. So the first Piston in the top 100. And again, we were focusing more from the Spurs angle of things. Obviously, competitively, these lineups they're going to be competing against, who is going to be, making up these rosters. But I guess Detroit is going to be there as well too. So it's basically going to be ranking the Spurs, again, the Denver, Houston, Detroit, New York, maybe some more. I guess where's Paolo going to be at? Franz, some of these name value guys, but in terms of play of this year as well too. But shout out both Thompson twins, basically top 70 players in the league to start their career. 50% from the field for Asar. We don't know if that's right or not anymore, but obviously we do know the defensive impact is there as well too, and has been definitely getting a little bit more creative just with his dribble and off the ball as well too. Like there's a version of his offense, and is still like a better, again, like off the ball, like the cutting and stuff, still very dynamic. I mean, for both guys, but maybe his reliance on that, and the fact that he is playing with Cade as well too, like it's perfect. Like that's actually just the great situation that might be the better situation for him as a Thompson twin. And I think Cade and Amen could both play together as well too. That'd be amazing. But again, the fact that Amen is with Durant, it's like Durant kind of needs the point guard, and then Asar kind of needs the point guard in his own right to get him set up in the right ways. Like, and then Cade actually needs the wing to be able to cut off of him. But then Asar is actually, again, kind of showing his own creativity that he is starting to have as well too. So, still 10 a game, again, still kind of a low impact, still low numbers offensive guy. But again, you see his top 70, like the flashes are definitely there for what he can be as a player. Lowest rank 113. Ayo, so we know Ja Morant is outside the 113, according to some writers. Drew Holiday, top 70. So I know Dame unranked for the injury reasons, but also did win the three-point contest. So I don't know if that ups the value as well too. And obviously both these guys, I guess, now playing with each other, with Dame being back in Portland. But, shout out, obviously, Portland with a couple guys on the list as well too. Portland, Portland and Charlotte are mistress teams either way. Charlotte, our mistress team in the East, and Portland in the West. Ayo, mistress teams on every coast is what it is. But Pritchard at 69 for the Celtics. And I guess they'll probably have a couple guys, like we're saying, throughout, though. Pritchard, it might honestly just be Pritchard and Jaylen Brown and Derek White as their three, because of course, obviously Horford no longer there. Horford, I guess, probably not in the top 100 at this point, with all due respect, with his play on the Warriors, and Tatum out, obviously. So I can't imagine something like Hugo Gonzalez. I don't think some of the other guys have quite earned top 100 status, but again, between those three, and Peyton Pritchard hasn't quite gotten the, I guess, the big three nod yet for what that lineup is. But again, that's what the team has been this year. It's been Pritchard, it's been Jaylen Brown, it's been Derek White. So you got to give him credit. Somebody had him ranked 33rd in the league. So that's like we're drafting guys reset the league. Like he's like the third pick of the second round. Like, Sacramento's going to build their team around Jokic and then Peyton. What does that mean? But you get Peyton Pritchard as your point guard? That's not bad. Obviously, the Jokic is pretty good get there. But lowest rank of 86 for Pritchard as well, too. Obviously, viewed highly throughout the league. Naz Reid, 68 for the halfway point in the season. Preseason ranked at 72. So is he the first guy? I guess we've had some unranked guys jump up. But I guess Pritchard jumped up as well too. But Reed has had his ups and downs through the course of the year. It took him a little bit of a while to start the year, get rolling, but he's up to at least 38% from three, and I think can even continue to, be scarier. He's one of those like sneaky, scary playoff guys where if Naz Reid goes to a different level, I guess again, you don't want to say if any random guy, quote unquote, goes to a level, but we know that Naz Reid is like a major playoff impactor. So if Naz Reid is able to go to another level in the playoffs of consistency, then of course Minnesota is going to be able to unlock that title winning upside. But again, with the way he's playing right now, obviously they're still a scary team, just in general. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 67, shout out. So I mean, Minnesota obviously could have had him as well too, but 20 a game this year in Atlanta. I mean, the opportunity offensively has been there for him because you see, 41% from the field. The 3-point efficiency is okay, and again, is that kind of malleable play style where again if he was on a better team, like we're saying Minnesota, or with better creators like Ant Edwards and those guys, I guess Randall, but obviously his ability to space the court and create off of those guys would be valuable as well too. But when he needs to be a little bit more of a playmaker, again we've seen him step up the scoring in a way for Atlanta here, so you got to give him credit there. Josh Hart at 66. So now the New York Knicks are starting to get into the list as well. Preseason ranked at 69, AO, but 49 from the field, 40% from three this year for our guy Josh Hart. So that's the deadly type of stuff that they need for them to win the title. Obviously, it could be like the Lou Dort of their title run if the New York Knicks are going to make it that far. Dylan Brooks at 65. AO, obviously Durant's going to be higher up on this list, and Houston, I mean, obviously the win-win for both teams. Both teams are feeling good about where the mental of their roster sit because, just Phoenix playing better this year with the fact that their roster is in a little bit different spot is obviously kind of lifted at least the spirits of the team a little bit. But Houston, obviously being a title contending team, is not going to make their trade, as they're not going to undo that trade as well too. But shout out to Brooks, who is preseason unranked, definitely a little bit unfair because again, just as a two-way guy, like kind of proved his defensive. I know that his defensive stuff was and maybe he has done a good job of being a little bit chilled out in that way. So I don't know, maybe Draymond, I guess at this point do you say take a lesson from Dylan Brooks, but maybe that just shows you what is possible in a way from that side of things, because he was starting to cross over into that, I guess it is what it is, that just annoying player territory with the way that some of the fouls and some of the uncontrollable nature of just like do we have to be this, this chaotic in the way we play the game? I get that, you want to bring the energy, you want to, again, ignite a fire in the team. Like I get the competitive, trying to win, obviously. But, again, it was starting to get a little too much there at some point. So it does seem like maybe, not say that he's scaled back competitiveness or anything like that, but, maybe he has just not necessarily, again, been so crazy with the way he's been moving on the court. And Draymond, obviously, to his credit, was unrelenting, obviously, throughout the course of his career with the way that he would, be himself in his personality on the court. But also, I think there was a way to maybe refine some of the character traits of that as well, too. But Hartenstein at 64, of course, one of the great rotation players for the Thunder. His great preseason ranked at 65. So yeah, it's like, just right where he needs to be. Pause for the season. Somebody ranked him at 35. It just depends on, I guess, how you're building your roster. But yeah, shout out. His importance to OKC is definitely there. Jared Allen at 63. So I guess, Hartenstein, I don't know, better playmaker. I guess the defensive stuff, a little more mobile. I'm not sure. It's a close one. Obviously, they're both one spot ranked there. Garland at 62. Shout out. I was kind of not thinking about Darius Garland, with all due respect at this point. Preseason ranked at 34. Obviously, again, he has had his ups and downs, I guess, in the various places on the list. But him still being, again, I don't know if this is me being a little overly optimistic for a guy that was preseason ranked 34. But because of the injuries, again, I don't want to be disrespectful to guys that are injured, but there is that, are you impacting the league this year factor as well too, where, he could be playing well when he's on the court. And, again, Giannis does get into a little bit of this territory as well. Obviously, we're ranking, again, performances up until this point. But by the time we get to the end of the season, with Giannis missing a bunch of the time, it's like, this is not really a season where you can say that, Giannis impacted the season. It is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and say that Giannis is still not one of the, 3-4 best players in the league. Obviously now with Wemby in the mix and Shea just being night to night, just, as consistent as he is, like, you got to reward that. But otherwise, again, there's just not very many other players. Would I take Cooper Flagg to build a franchise with over Giannis at this point? Like, I guess, what are we going to make the argument for? Like, screw it. I'll just take Giannis. It is fine. It is what it is. But for, again, impacting the season and being a guy that was, actually going to change, being important for the title race or having some type of moment that would be impactful there. Because, even like, again, to take everything back to Wemby, but you think Wemby, that rookie year when they were playing Denver, maybe that was his second year, but they had that game against Denver at the end of the year where they were able to get the win and, of course, affect Denver's playoff positioning, and that affected their playoff path, and then ultimately, affected what could have been the title picture that year as well, too. But so, again, you still have Wemby being an impactful guy in the league that year, even though he maybe wasn't even able to make the playoffs himself or, be competitive directly for the title. But still, again, in the league, impacted the league versus, again, obviously we know you miss a bunch of time. You're not really going to be able to do that. But, again, I don't know if Garland, I would have had him in that territory this year, but, hey, shout out. Hopefully he's able to get back for the Clippers and, help round that lineup out a little bit as well, too, for them. But Jaden McDaniels at 61 for the Timberwolves, preseason ranked 67. So not too much going on there. And I guess, what was Naz Reid at as well? He was kind of, was he preseason unranked? I guess, he might be fine. No, 72 to 68. So yeah, the Minnesota guys kind of landing pretty similarly where they were at. And I do wonder if we get to like Chet and Jalen Williams for OKC, like they might be kind of in the same spot as well too. Again, it's all good. They're the 1 seed in the Western Conference right now, so you wouldn't change anything. But for Minnesota, again, the playoffs are going to be interesting for them because not to say that, again, they haven't necessarily taken a step back in the regular season, but they haven't necessarily taken like a major step forward as well too. Again, you see like Jaden Daniels kind of in the same spot where he was last year. Again, Naz Reid kind of there as well too. I would say even Ant Edwards, like obviously the All-Star game boost is big for him in terms of, that was, a big win that weekend. But for the regular season, again, it's been a little similar. I don't want to say stagnant maybe, but it has been, a little tiny bit stagnant in Minnesota. And, again, they've also themselves been in back-to-back conference championship series. So they do know sort of, pause, the length of the season, what that means. Castle at 60. This list is stupid. Castle, there's not, as a Spurs fan, there's not, 6 other players in the league we trade for Castle. I don't know what the list is, but highest ranked at 47. I guess I thought, this Castle, I guess 28% from 3. We're just overlooking obvious statistical deficiencies here. But, defensively being great. I guess what is the difference between Castle and Dyson Daniels? He is objectively, I think at this point, just a better offensive player than Dyson Daniels. He's got a couple of literal actual go-to moves, 7 assists a game. I think he's a better creator. And I think you could argue he's a better defender. Dyson Daniels is elite at stealing. Dyson Daniels may be better at getting steals than Steph Castle, but Castle might be a better, actually stay in front of the opposing player, no fouls, just the strength and all that. Again, Dyson Daniels is a very strong player as well too. But this list is now just going to become who is immediately playing better than Steph Castle, because 60 is crazy. I guess, again, top 50 in the league, but where's Knuppel at? Knuppel is not better than Castle right now. Knuppel is better offensively than Castle. I don't know if he's a better player overall. I guess Giddey, Giddey's not better than Castle. You're not and again, I don't know if saying we'll make the trade is for this year, if that's necessarily totally fair to the conversation. But for if we can make the trade with like, hey, would you rather have Josh Giddey for the rest of this season? Then you can get Castle back. Like, the league will rig it for you to help you win the title. Like, I'd be like, no, we'll just take Steph Castle. Like, why would we do that? I don't. Doesn't make sense. Desmond Bane. I mean, Desmond Bane. You could make the case. I could see that in a 1 year scenario, and unfortunately, the dynamic has been a little bit weird, and it's been maybe more. Again, has his numbers quite hit some of the over-unders, that we were maybe projecting of what he would have been. But, on paper, the Desmond Bane season has been, again, pretty effective. And we know that, again, he can be obviously an elite offensive player. So, you can make the case for him over Castle, but I wouldn't do it. Castle defensively, he's just too good at this point. It is like an Alex Caruso type of situation, but I think he is offensively has higher upside than Caruso. But again, I think Caruso needs to get offensive off of other guys. I mean, he could probably have moments where he's cooking and, get his own shot at times. But we all know Caruso's game, chat. He's obviously the cutting to the basket, the corner threes, the offensive rebounds. Like that's about as the offensive rebounding and like the putback opportunities. Like that's about as good of an offensive element in Caruso's game, I would think. Again, that's a compliment to Caruso. But I envision him scoring that way, like I would Castle creating his own shot. So, again, those are all important things, but then, Castle is far up on the list over Caruso as well, too. So that's not the comparison there. But, the point being that, again, for where Castle is at defensively, and like Caruso can just be so good defensively alone that it's just like, he'll wreck games. And, I think Castle can be that as well, too. But then, like we're saying, the added offensive element of can generate his own shot. So Washington, Trae Young does make the list. He is 57. Again, maybe some light impact on the season so far, but still, 20, I guess not 20 and 10 anymore. Hopefully that doesn't mean he's not a 20. Imagine, What would be more surprising? Trae Young goes to Washington and averages 23 and 10 like he has been, or 19 and 9. Those do seem like good Washington Wizards numbers. Ayo, but I guess Westbrook did have a good season on the Wizards. Again, was it a good season compared to the best version of Russell Westbrook ever? Obviously, again, that's the best version of Russell Westbrook ever we're comparing him to. But, and again, that's Wizards Westbrook we're comparing to himself. Russell Westbrook. But for Trae Young, again, he could still have good numbers. But hopefully it just doesn't become, and because of his defensive numbers, he needs to be kind of in that elite offensive percentile for him to be, that plus player on the court. But Suggs as well too. Bane and Suggs getting close to the top 50. So again, for the Jazz, it's going to be, is Paolo the 8th best player in the league or the 12th best player in the league, or is he going to be like the 27th best player in the league? Because Franz will probably be in that 40 to 30 range as well too. And then, like we're saying, Paolo as the franchise guy, it all hinges on Paolo. But Keontae George offensively has been, a pretty fun player this year. So he is making his way to the top 50. 55 for Keontae George is crazy. And like I said, Pacers center Zubats is top 54 as well too. I mean, that is the difficult part of the trade. With as good as Mathurin is, and I do see it for the Clippers as well too. Again, he does get that offense. Mathurin and I didn't even think about Mathurin and Garland as a backcourt. Again, is that gonna win the title at someday? I don't know, but that's something. And with Kawhi, I mean, that's definitely something. Hey, but Zubats is just straight up a better player. Like, I doubt Mathurin's gonna be in the top 53. So we didn't see Mathurin in 100 for 54. So that's like a pretty significant trade difference there. And I don't know exactly what the Clippers, what the pick situation was that the Clippers got back. They had to have gotten back a first, I would assume, to trade for, Zubats, definitely a first. But it felt like they weren't trading him there for a while as well too. It felt like there was a time where it was like, wait, do you have to give up like multiple first round picks to get Zubats? So, shout out. That's like a sneaky, again, because the Pacers were a little bit of an underdog in the finals, and then the injury happened. There is that like, is that is that? What was that the Pacers run? Was that the opportunity? And the Pacers, I guess respectfully, are kind of a team that does maybe have one moment with the version of the teams that they do, like I guess, but that Reggie Miller team, was competitive every year, but then, what they got to the finals the one time, like that Paul George team was, feisty with that Heat team, but you don't really obviously, and if you were in the moment, you remember them again as competing with Miami, but at the end of the day, the tiers of teams from that time, you don't necessarily consider the Pacers as like a team of there. Obviously, it's the Spurs, the Heat, the Mavs. That one year they were able to pull through. OKC as well too, being maybe a little bit more contending team. But the point is, I think the Pacers are, if Halliburton gets back, maybe not even a hot take, but I think they're closer to being the title team than they are the team going into the playoffs. That was maybe the little bit of the underdog. But again, I maybe depends on where they're at with some of the wings as well too, like we're saying with Neesmith, but you're still gonna have Nembhard, and we saw Halliburton step up from a two-way standpoint. So I don't know, maybe again Turner being the spacer that he was really helped, but I feel like they'll be okay with Zubats there. But Sabonis at 53, so the Kings now take the lead for the most top 100 players. But Sabonis 18% from three, I guess been more of a top of the key type of guy than a 3-point percentage guy, but it's difficult to see on paper there, and has of course been as well like a kind of a sneaky 20-point, maybe like an 18-point a game scorer. I guess DeRozan, Levine, and Westbrook there. Maybe he's gonna be more focused on playmaking, but 4 assists is crazy. Like that just shows you that maybe they're not passing there in Sacramento, because Sabonis is a passer. So maybe free Sabonis is the thing we have to start now for Sacramento, because I want to see where he's been at. I don't know if he's been Jokic with the assists, but I feel like he's been a little bit higher. Yeah, he did get up to 8 a game in 23-24. I guess again it's been kind of a peaks and valleys there. The rebounds also, I guess he's 11 a game this year, so still crazy rebounds, but 14 a game as well too the last couple. But yeah, 8.2 is 7.3, 8.2, and then 6 the previous year. So down to 4.1 is crazy. I don't know if there needs to be a stat that's like assisting attempts, like potential assists. Like, I guess that would be like pass to shot opportunities. I don't know if that's the technical advanced stats way to phrase it. But there would be, is his pass to shot opportunities way down? Or, again, are the Kings just missing more shots? Because, Levine's making them. So is Levine just ball hogging it? It is what it is. But, yeah, shout out Sabonis, still fun. Davis getting in at 52 on the list. Again, in somewhat preseason ranked at 12. Like, going into the season, obviously, there was that expectation of, are the Mavs going to be like a sneaky, if Cooper Flag is good, like, could they, are they going to be competing in the West? Who knows? But Davis is obviously, unfortunately, maybe moved into a little bit of a different tier at this point. And again, I don't think it even is just an injury case. Like that would have been the case as well too. In the past would have been, yes, he is a top 12 player, but he's never healthy. Obviously, the health thing is still a factor. But again, the hope of what the upside is maybe starting to change as well too. But again, for Washington, it's different. They don't necessarily need the top 12 player. They'll take a top 12 player if they can get one. But I don't know if that's necessarily what they were trading for as well. Brandon Ingram at 51 though. Shout out again the stacked Raptors. 28 was his highest ranking. So that is starting to really get back up into that top level scorer upside that we were having for Brandon Ingram at some point. And again, the Raptors really there is, I guess, a version of them as well too that maybe is the best version of the Raptors a team that can win the East. Again, I guess a lot of the guys are at the points in their careers now where we kind of assume, again, this is what they are. But, again, those are all guys that are still, fairly young as well. Again, they're not like old, I guess is maybe the point to say. They're still in their primes. Whatever point. That's literally 3 different spots in your career. But it is what it is. Jaren Jackson at number 50 now with Utah, but also now, again, in that too good to be playing because Utah is tanking. Is there a baby Keem rhyme scheme there that we can implement? I'm not sure, but shout out. I guess the preseason rank has tumbled a little bit, but I think that is just maybe the Memphis vibes more so than Jaren Jackson's game. And I think his game will be back as well too, because that Utah, I guess, again, we'll market it in Jaren Jackson, be able to compete in the West, but I think those guys will be able to complement each other very well. And if anything, the Jazz will be able to trade him back for more first round picks and, keep building in the future there. If anything, Danny Ainge, I feel like that's his perfect team. Get guys that you can trade for, give me a guy that I can trade 6 years from now for 5 first round picks. It's essentially the move. I don't know if Danny Ainge never eats. Does he need to win the title, or does he need to build a competitive team that, again, he can just trade off the parts for later on? I mean, he did win titles in Boston, win a title, I guess, in Boston. No, he won 2, right? Was he there in 22 when they won, and then he left right after that? Or was that the year that he left and technically the Sun won the title? I don't remember there, but obviously, built that team as well, too. But OG Anunoby, now we're technically in the top 50. So, Jaren Jackson, still top 50 player. OG Anunoby, 49, having a great season. And again, for Jaren Jackson, maybe having to compete with guys on better teams as well, too. Like, New York's just a better team. Would you trade Anunoby for Jaren Jackson? You might not, but, again, it's starting to get close there as well, too. And again, one spot away on the list. But Jaren Jackson over Steph Castle, I guess I wouldn't make that move. And again, I would not make a move for OG Anunoby over Steph Castle, but I think you would definitely have to consider that. But again, I think it is underrated what he is doing offensively on that team, because Fox is not, again, I'm not saying this disrespectfully, he doesn't need to, because of what the rest of the team has been able to accomplish, and Wemby as well too has been, again, offensively taking steps forward in his game as well. But yeah, Fox is 19 points a game this year in San Antonio. So on some nights, again, Steph Castle is in some ways the main perimeter offensive guy at times, but actually, and again, it's him creating things as well too. So that's the other part, that Anunoby is not going to create things for the, would Castle create less in Washington? Yes, Castle would not, the Wizards would not be as good, and he wouldn't have Wemby defensively to help him out and offensively to help him out as well too. But Castle and Sarr is still really, really good. And again, Castle's ability to attack downhill, you're still going to see him defensively. He's still going to be able to do 93% of the things in Washington that he's able to do in San Antonio. He's still going to be viewed as a quote unquote franchise guy. It's just, his ability to be in a title winning situation, of course, is just going to be different. I think that, Anunoby is, again, a great guy because Brunson can create, and because Towns can create, and because, even Bridges can create it sometimes. And Anunoby, when Sonny Lee is in the arena, obviously he can create 30 points a game as well too. But, he is a guy that, again, is a valuable piece of a winning roster. I guess, Jaren Jackson as well, compare there. The creating stuff is maybe, again, is he more of an off the ball wing at this point in his career? But that's where I think Castle, and I guess Knuppel as well too. We're saying, he is a legitimate offensive creator at this point. The 43% from 3 is just absolutely ridiculous as a rookie. I guess what is the NFL comparison of that? I was gonna say, is that the comparison of Drake May hitting 70% of his passes this year? But I don't think it is, because that'd be like Knuppel hitting layups. Not to say that Drake May was hitting layups all the time, but 3-pointers are 3-pointers. Hey yo, hot take. It is what it is. You can't really cheat the system there. Maybe the corner 3, of course, is the one minor way to do it, but otherwise you have to just be a good 3-point shooter. So I don't know if what would be the quarterback, comparison of the guy just entering the league right away and just immediately being, of course, I guess, Jade Daniels taking his team to the conference finals or whatever. But, that type of just veteran polish and efficiency on the game, the stat line, right away is, of course, crazy. So it's is he going to be a 30-point a game scorer at some point one season? But defensively, there is, he'll have turnover trouble there. Defensively, defense is far from a great strength, it says here in quote. And, we have to make our case for Dylan Harper as well, too, as the better pick. So that is the one thing that, not the one thing. Again, Dylan Harper is really, really good offensively. Obviously, right now, again, Knuppel is just a better perimeter scorer, so he does have the advantage there. But I don't know if defense will ever be, if he'll ever be known as a two-way player. Or, I guess there is there is a world where he does get like stronger as well too, but like that was always the thing with Steph. Is Steph was like strong, so he could hold up in certain matchups, and you could see his ability to like, lock in. Like you could see like the core strength. Was that like the Doris Burke interview talked about the core strength or like his bicep curl or something like that. But you could see if a guy like posts him up, like you could see the, the resistance that like Steph would provide on a potential, and not even just the resistance, but the willingness. That's more so the thing would be like if, back in the finals, like, the easy comparison, of course, would be LeBron. But it's like if LeBron is going to try to post me up, like I'm at least going to, be in defensive position and at least try to take the shoulder. And, obviously there is going to be the mismatch there. But the point would be a guy like Knuppel or, watching like Reeves here for the Lakers, like, hey, yo. But, those guys, I feel like because of the strength, and I mean, like, who am I to call out an NBA player's strength? But, again, just in terms of the 2K attribute of it, I think because of where they stand in the strength element, I think their willingness to, I guess as we say that, Reeves literally just, takes a shoulder from Mathurin and gets a steal. So maybe I need to, rethink what I'm saying about Reeves. And Reeves is going to be like in the top, 20. So obviously, his game is perfect. What are we sitting here, criticizing Austin Reeves now that he's good after being an Austin Reeves fan all these years? But, I think Knuppel, if he got a little stronger and got a little more willing to stay in front of guys, that would that alone would be a major, major advantage. But I think there is a willingness to let up a drive every now and then that you're like, okay, again, like, Harper's just not going to do that. It is what it is. So even if he gets beat, on a drive, or misses a 3-pointer, like, he's gonna at least like try on defense. It is what it is. I don't know, Rem call out Knuppel, but regardless, again, the defense is the thing that's like, obviously the thing that keeps Harper at this point as the two-way advantage over him. But obviously offensively, clearly the most efficient player in the draft so far. Gobert at 47, preseason ranked at 46. So again, the Minnesota consistency is locked in at this point. Aaron Gordon at 46 for Denver, preseason ranked at 50. So he has, dealt with some injuries as well, but 50% from the field, 40% from three this year. So, obviously the efficiency has still been able to maintain, with Bridges at 45 for New York. So him and Anunoby, pretty similar. And I wonder if we'll see Towns closer to them or closer to the All-NBA tier as well too, because of course I would say the 25 is like 15 All-NBA, so we'll say 22 more, like maybe like 21, the top 21, fourth team All-NBA, and then an honorable mention would be in the All-NBA conversation. So will Towns, I guess, be closer to 21 or 41? We'll have to see here. But Norm Powell, 44. Again, speaking of the All-NBA, we were hoping maybe he'd be a little closer to that. 39% from three so far. But preseason ranked 75. I guess we don't know exactly. Unranked, I don't know. Can you be the biggest riser, if you go like from unranked to like 82? Like, are you technically moving up 12 spots, or are you moving up, an infinite amount of spots plus 12? I don't know how that works. But, obviously the 30 spot increase for our guy Norm Powell, and in the 30s as well too. You love to see it at 32, ranked as highly as 29 by some people, and would be an interesting. And again, he's doing this as the best player in Miami. So I don't know. Is he the worst ranked best player here? I guess we got Trey Murphy. I guess, like we're saying, worst, but that would actually be something, I think, for Norm Powell. That would be like kind of fun as well too. Like, you wouldn't think of Norm Powell being the worst best player in the league. Actually, let me look at that real quick. I'm gonna find a better way to phrase that. And I guess, we got Sacramento hanging out over there as well too. Immediately calling out the Sacramento roster. It is what it is. I guess they did have Norm Powell over Knuppel. Do they have LaMelo over Knuppel on this? Is LaMelo in the top 100? Starting to get a little nervous, but because Knuppel is a little more efficient than LaMelo, but I guess LaMelo, a little bit more name status at this point as well. But again, I'm taking Castle over either of those guys. So that's not the debate, but the debate between LaMelo and Knuppel at this point, as much as we love LaMelo, you might have to lean the con man at this point. It is what it is. But I guess Brooklyn as well. So the teams we're not thinking of, I guess, is why, why we're thinking Norm Powell's over. But of the main playoff guys, but either way, again, best player on a playoff team, like shout out. I think he needs to be higher up in that regard. And I guess Bam is going to end up getting the number 1 player ranking spot for the Heat. It is what it is. But yeah, Trey Murphy 43. So I guess we didn't see Zion on this. We're already calling it, chat. It is what it is. We didn't see Zion on this list. We know he's not going to be in the top 40. I guess we can't write it off yet. But I'm assuming that the Pelicans might only have one guy. But if it's Trey Murphy at 43, shout out. I mean, we saw the trade value start to really get there in this offseason. But yeah, obviously the Pelicans are choosing to keep him around, as is probably the smart thing to do. But going back to Ja, like again, that's why I was saying with Ja maybe at 79, it's like, he's still in the top 100. Like there is still that value, I guess, assigned there, because I don't know if Zion is going to be in the top 100. And I think that would be a little crazy. As well, would it though? Which of these guys are we taking out of the list for Zion? We'd have to go scroll back up to the 90s. I guess see DeRozan or Zion. Let us know, chat. Who's having a better year? Amen Thompson, 42. Preseason ranked at 41. So I guess in some ways, hasn't necessarily maybe had the major jump that people were expecting. But honestly, preseason rank 41 is like a nice, sensible rank for Amen Thompson, because there was, the trade value rankings were starting to get crazy. Not to call out, one Bill Simmons, but, obviously you say trade value, and obviously that's the name that would get associated there. But I think he at one point was having Amen Thompson, in the 20s, and I think that would have been, not necessarily like majorly disagreed with throughout the basketball community with the way he was playing at some points as a rookie, and just that overall initial hype. Speaking of Cant right now, the hype of the rookie playing super well, or obviously, again, just the rookie contract guy playing super well is going to be there. But I think that, in some ways, again, his responsibility is being increased. The expectation for this Houston team is being increased. So the fact that his production has been able, like Houston is still matching that, and they are a title contending team. Like they weren't last year. I mean, they were still a team of like, ooh, this could be something. And you know what? That's what they were at the end of the day. And this year, it's like, hey, can this team be a title contending team? Amen Thompson needs to be a major piece of that. And they have been a title contending team, and Amen Thompson is a major piece of that. So again, Sven Goon being, probably near an All-NBA guy. Sven Goon and Durant are the two guys that, of course, made the All-Star team and are the All-NBA contenders. And, again, if Amen Thompson, if there's a version of this ranking where he is closer to the All-NBA list, then, Houston's like really, really scary at that point. So Houston probably does, again, have higher upside than San Antonio this year. This might be stepping on a take that I was thinking about as well too. But I guess if they have Amen Thompson ranked this much, I guess that's an interesting question. And I never even thought about Castle over Amen Thompson as well too. Again, because like that trade would just never happen. Like why would Houston do that move? Why would San Antonio do that move? Like both franchises are happy with their players, and both players are kind of similar as well too. So again, I don't think stylistically either team is benefiting. And Amen Thompson, I think, is, again, it's close. Like, Castle was in the dunk contest. Like, that's obviously the bar for athleticism. But, Castle's an amazing athlete. But I think Amen Thompson might be a smidge better of an athlete. So maybe, again, is that the 20 spots on the list? But I think Castle is right there as well too. So I think, but again, does Amen Thompson immediately this year have higher upside? I don't know. But Durant versus Wemby, I guess Wemby probably has a little bit higher upside than Durant. And then Sven Goon, versus Harper versus Fox becomes a little bit of a factor there as well too. What a block by Jackson Hayes. The Clippers have fought back and made this a 1-point game. I don't know exactly how much they were down by at one point, but the original Canuple, Luke Kennard, is getting to the basket there for the 2-pointer. I don't know. I'm sure we could, track the lineage of Canupples back a little bit further than that. But I guess the Duke 2-guard lineage as well is something there. See, Paolo at 41. Unfortunately, probably a little lower than you'd want. Preseason ranked at 19. So him and Davis, I guess, are the two franchise guys at this point that unfortunately have been down the list. And unfortunately for Paolo, different because Ja was already, what was his preseason rank, was already again in the 30s. So there was already that expectation starting to change of could Ja lead a team to the title? And, you know, again, now it becomes, is Ja a guy you want on your roster with all the contract and injury stuff, you know, factored into it? But, you know, again, Davis, you know, there's legitimate, you know, we'll say timeline excuses for why the performances might be why they are. Again, Paolo, you know, unfortunately, you were hoping preseason ranked 19 is like a little too low. And I think for us, you know, in terms of guys we wanted in the league, like Paolo was definitely one that was, you know, way up there at some point. But unfortunately, that's just, you know, it is like, again, to bring Castle back into it for this year. And again, I don't want to get too crazy, but I wouldn't trade Paolo for Castle this year. You get the contract, of course, that he just signed. So, hey, was that a part of it, Chet? Hey, yo, give the man $239 million and the field goal percentage goes down? Shocker. But, you know, for the complementary skill set next to Wemby, but then just what they are able to create, again, offensively right now, like, I think it's pretty similar. And, you know, again, on one side, that's a bad thing because this expectation was preseason ranked 19. But it doesn't mean that Castle's probably the 60th best player in the league as well, too. Like, he's only 2 field goal percentage points worse from 3 than Paolo. But he is, you know, pretty similar from 2 and maybe a better creator right now. Like, Paolo can still be, but, you know, Castle is just, again, being a better creator. But, yeah, obviously he can still get there, and Orlando has still been able to sustain, you know, a level of competitiveness with him there as well, too. But Cooper Flagg immediately just, like, that's a bummer. Like, yes, I mean, you know, Cooper Flagg, the generational talent. I think the fact that he is, again, at this point on a rookie contract and Paolo on a extension, like, you get the trade value there. The trade value argument there could definitely, you know, take place in a year or two. But the fact that Cooper Flagg in year 1 reclassified is better than Paolo right now, again, that's just a bummer for the Magic fans. It is what it is. And that's not Cooper Flagg, you know, being the 6th best player in the league right away. That's him being the 40th best player in the league, and he's still better than Paolo. So, yeah, tough. And is Franz going to be up? Oh, Chad Zion's 39! Oh, we underrated him. Zion in the top 40. Let's go. The 20-win Pelicans have 2 top 40 players. And the 12-win Kings have, you know, 5 top 100 players. But somehow, you know, these teams, somehow the Spurs have 1 top 50 player. I don't know. Obviously, Fox is going to be in the top 20 as well. But shout out. I can't believe we underestimated Zion. It is what it is. But I assumed that he'd be more, you know, again, maybe more associated with like a trade value ranking. But, hey, you love to see it. As highly ranked as 29 and as lowest ranked at 64. So, yeah, maybe a little bit more than that. And I'm not saying that I would personally have him ranked there. Again, I haven't necessarily been thinking about it. But I haven't necessarily maybe given a lot of thought to where Zion would fall at this point as a title contending guy, because maybe it is a little bit of a mystery. Like, do you bring him in? Is he going to be your 2nd best guy on the team? Like, would the Pacers, you know, again, they just brought in Zubats, but would the Pacers make a move that would somehow, you know, make Zion their 2nd best guy? And it's going to be like, we're going to have Halliburton, we're going to have Zion, and that's going to get us through the East. Like, just thinking about that, you know, it does not quite sound like enough. So, you know, again, in that 3rd guy conversation, if it was Halliburton, I guess if the Knicks right now, and again, now you get into the fit on the court of it, if they traded Mikal Bridges for Zion, you know, again, I don't know if that is basketball. Does it make sense from a basketball standpoint to have Zion instead of OG Anunoby? But is Zion, well, I guess, you know, now we're making the case for OG Anunoby to be up on the list as well, too. So I don't know. Are we debunking Zion at 39? That's not what I mean to have happen. But, again, it's just interesting because, again, the basketball fit does matter. But he is also still, like, a guy that can play really, really well. So, you know, maybe New Orleans is actually good because of that. Because it does make sense with him, again, with Trey Murphy. So, I don't know. Where are they sitting at right now in the Tankathon ratings? You know, Darren Peterson to Sacramento is giving Ben McLemore. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But that's right, the Pelicans. Oh, Chad, the Pelicans. Derek Queen better be in the Hall of Fame. Imagine though, Cam Boozer would be nice in the Pelicans. It is what it is. Take 2. Cam Boozer would be nice on the Pelicans. IT can use whichever one they want there, but I mean that would be. I mean, hey yo, that type of perimeter or, you know, forward playmaker next to Zion. The Duke front court, Zion, Boozer, had Trey Murphy there. I mean, it'd be, again, the Pelicans just getting more dangerous guys and maybe them losing. But shout out, that's right, they have Derek Queen as well. So Derek Queen, maybe, is he in the top 100? I mean, he might be. If Zion is 39. LaMelo at 38, I guess, what was he? Only a handful of spots above Cant, so it's close. But I feel like that could be changing shortly. I guess his preseason, he's up from his preseason rank of 45. So, not even having that great of a season, but still, with the way the Hornets have been playing, just the good vibes now, I think, are going to have him, maybe restoring a little bit of faith there. Derek White at 37. So there we go, the Celtics big three. I guess will Jaylen Brown, of course, be, top 10, maybe interesting to see there. Michael Porter Jr. at 36. So somehow all the bad teams being represented in the top 30. But so this is a perfect example, again, of correlating the player rankings to winning team. This is why the player rankings don't matter. Because Michael Porter Jr. is the 35th best player in the league. And it's like, yeah, I guess, you can't, well, I mean, we can still debate, can you win a title? No. Well, I guess what's fair, because he does have a ring. The man was on the Denver Nuggets. It was important to that team, but there was also times where the man was getting bent for Bruce Brown. It is what it is. So again, Bruce Brown, not even in the top 100 player rankings, and was, playing over a guy that was number 35 in the league at one point. So this is why they're trash and they don't matter, but it is what it is. Or I guess, 36, Randall subbing in at 35. And I guess, yeah, he has had a little bit of a boost from the preseason, and that is, maybe just him not going, pause backwards is the most encouraging thing, because I think Gobert, McDaniels could, of course, is always kind of like on a watch for, could he take the next step forward offensively, and now all of a sudden he's like 23, 24 a game and kind of creating off the dribble a little bit more. But it's like, is Randall, again, just going to be, because he can get into, with all due respect, like he can get into the detrimental stuff if his play starts to go backwards, and again, because he could just be responsible for so much offensively as well too. But yeah, he is, you can see Randall, Nasri, like we're saying, like you can see they're there for competing, obviously, for being in the finals, but maybe, again, just like that 3-4 where, again, like Amen Thompson for Houston, or what OKC is working with, or again, obviously just Jokic in Denver. Maybe a little bit too much at this point, but Franz at 34 for Orlando. So now, again, kind of established as that quote-unquote best player for Orlando. But again, that is also the basketball fit of it as well, too, where that he is a little bit more versatile across lineups, where maybe because of Paolo's ability to, his ability to control the offense, like, it's not going well this year, so... maybe you're a little cautious there. But yeah, even Fox is lowly ranked, 33. Hey, yo, the voice is going, Chad. It is what it is. But Fox, 33 is, not helping that as well, too. So him and Castle, both, the Rodney Dangerfield, no respect. And people, I mean, the most consensus player on this list was De'Aaron Fox. His highest rank was 33 and his lowest rank was 37. But, I mean, him over Bam, I get if you're just like, what can, Bam as a forward versus De'Aaron Fox as a guard, but, and I guess, don't ask me about that trade, because I do love Bam. It is what it is. But, and that means we would have Asia Wilson at the games? Hey, yo, Jalen Williams at 31. Interesting from a preseason rank 15. So him and Paolo, I guess, and Davis, him and Paolo as kind of the under 25 guys that were the top 20 and maybe have stepped back a little bit. But I think that is, maybe... obviously the injury stuff, but again, it's just him, like, the rhythm of the season. I think they'll be fine for the playoffs. But I was going to sit here and, start talking about Spurs final stuff, but maybe we'll save it. It is what it is. We're going to start pivoting to the Rockets as the favorite in the West. I'm not sure. Reeves at 30, he would have been another guy I would have thought maybe top 25. I mean, he's up 25 spots from his preseason rank. So, again, incredible offensive efficiency, just making up for any sort of defensive setbacks at this point. Nearly he is a 25-point a game scorer with the efficient game. But I thought he could have gotten into the top 25. 20, somebody did have him ranked 20 there. We haven't seen LeBron yet, so hopefully, I guess if Zion is 39, hopefully that means LeBron is still in the top 20. Okay, Towns, there we go. He is in the All-NBA conversation, closer to that. Then he's in the 40s, and that's good there at 29. So... again, preseason rank 18, a little bit backwards, but not necessarily to the point where, again, the Knicks, it's like, if they're playing like this in the playoffs, it's a little bit of a concern. Obviously, that means the Pistons, I guess, win the East because they're better right now than the Knicks with the way that they're playing right now. And I guess, is Cade a top 10 player in the league? Did they make this list after Cade scored 42 to just like put him in the top 5 and have a hot take? I'm not sure. But again, Towns had a lowest rank of 44. So there's not the De'Aaron Fox consensus where it's like, 7 spots is the lowest that he's played. There is a 19. I guess somebody else is, somebody's like, yeah, he's still kind of the same guy, which I see as well too on the nights that, that he is playing there. But maybe the consistency has been a little bit random at this point. And Duren at 28, like you would have probably said Towns over Duren last year, but this year I think I kind of, maybe would just take Duren's, the simplicity of that game as well too. So Duren might be the one that takes his All-NBA spot. And Siakam at 27 is another Pacer guy that we're just leaving out of all of these conversations and is not playing. But I mean, there's your big 3, I guess, right there: Siakam, Zubats, and in Halliburton. So who did we say they needed? Maybe could you trade Siakam for Zion right now? Would the Pelicans do that? They probably wouldn't, but I would. I guess. I mean, Siakam is 12 spots higher right now than Zion on the player ranking. So could you talk him into it? They should have made the call. That would have been interesting because I don't know if Siakam will be the same player next year. I guess 32. At least 48, 32. Hey, give him a break. What are we doing? He's the same guy that he was in the offseason. I guess, yeah, it's 25, 27. Yeah, shout out Siakam. We got to give him a chance. I guess you could do that trade at some point else, right? When Siakam gets worse. Maybe I don't know why you would do that trade when Siakam gets worse, or why the Pelicans would do that trade. But LeBron at 26. Shout out. Still, preseason rank at 8, but a top 25 player in the league. Like, come on. What are we doing here? GOAT talk. It is what it is. Embiid right now better than LeBron? Ooh. I mean, shout out Embiid, preseason rank at 26, I guess. Shout out the fact that they still had him nearly in the top 25 going into the season. It's not like everybody is, always speaking highly of Embiid these days. But somebody had him ranked 12. So back to kind of normal there in somebody's mind. And there are nights offensively as well. I mean, 26 games. Some of the numbers do in some ways look normal. Obviously, the rebounding, you can see kind of a little bit of a step back there, even though, I guess, has he always been like a 12 rebound a game guy? Maybe a little bit lower there as well. But I don't know. Maybe LeBron over. That's a tough debate. Obviously, you're not making the trade at this point for LeBron, so he does hold extra market value as well too, if we could say that respectfully. Markkanen at 24, shout out, the leader of the Jazz, of course, with him and Jaren Jackson, like we're saying earlier, and Keontae George. So they've got 3 top 55 players now between those 3 guys. They should be at least a 6 seed when they're all healthy. But then, what did we say that they're looking at in the draft right now? Mikal Brown Jr., that is an interesting one. Maybe Wagner makes more sense. A cuff just put up like 45 the other night. I did have that one on in the background. So, can you have Darius Acuff and, if I'm saying his last name right, and Keontae George both? And just, are you allowed to score 100 points a game with 2 people? I don't know. But Evan Mobley at 23. Shout out. Preseason rank 14. But, still in All-NBA conversation. And I guess, is James Harden going to be in the top 20 as well, too? So does Cleveland all of a sudden, after the James Harden trade, have 3 top 25 guys? And we did kind of say in the moment that, yes, obviously, again, there is that timeline thing that you are speeding up, but you are also, just straight up increasing your offensive output with James Harden. And yes, Darius Garland is like one of the guys in the league that's like, oh, James Harden, defensive question mark. Well, hey, we've had Darius Garland there the last couple of games. It is what it is. But I don't know, is James Harden going to be in the top 20? That would seem a little bit high, to be honest, for him. So I don't know if he's going to be on the list. But, hey, we'll see here. Chet at 22. And then, Scotty Barnes at 21. Whoa. The Raptors being the 4 seed in the East, like, somebody does have to be represented, I guess, if we were, considered being represented, if we were making those rosters officially. But individually, is he right now the 21st best player in the league? Shout out. We did have, we've mentioned him before as like a guy that's like, if the Spurs, who's a guy that they could buy low on, and then, oh, he's had that franchise upside in the past, bring him in and be that, extra player in San Antonio. And he would still, not to say that we'd give up again Castle. I wouldn't trade Castle again right now for Scotty Barnes. So, again, not to say that he's not the 21st best player in the league because of that. But I think that he would also obviously be a great compliment to those guys. I don't think I would trade Fox for him as well, too. But that would be really interesting. Pause the size increase there. Hey, always want to get bigger, but you get Scotty Barnes in the front court next to Wemby, and then Castle and Harper. Like, you definitely see that basketball lineup a little bit more than that. That looks a little bit more like a traditional basketball lineup than Wemby, obviously the traditional basketball player, but than Fox, Castle, and Harper. But those three guys are dynamic. Like that really works well, chat. That really works well, especially just right now. With OKC missing all their guys, it works really well. But Sengun, 20. So, again, obviously, the Rockets with Eason and Reed Shepherd. So, those are five guys, obviously, that, you can have out there at the same time. Durant and Sengun with Thompson, Shepherd, and, Thompson and Shepherd in your backcourt. And then Sengun, Durant, and Eason in your front court. And then, you still have some good depth pieces there as well, too. So, that's so far. And then OKC had, they're going to have, obviously, Shea. And then Jalen Williams and Chet and Cason Wallace and Caruso and Hartenstein. So, they had 6 guys. Am I counting that right? Shea, Jalen, Chet, Caruso, Hartenstein, and Cason Wallace. So, 6 guys in the top 100. Unless, so no Dort. So Dort can also be in the top 100 as well, too. I mean, he would have definitely been in the top 100 last year, maybe even the top 50 last year at times with the way that he was playing. And then, can Isaiah Joe as well, too, maybe get to top 100 play? I guess they don't have Ousmane Dieng anymore, but they could have had 8 guys potentially be in the top 100. So they are still number 1, but then OKC technically number 2. And then the Spurs technically number 3. But again, Castle, Wemby, and Fox so powerful that, maybe they count for like 5.5. But Devin Booker at 19, hopefully, hopefully whatever was going on with the hip there is nothing too crazy. But yeah, James Harden at 18 over Devin Booker right now. I guess he is 25 a game this year. Jesus. I mean, 36% from 3, 43% from the field is kind of where he's been over the last couple. But, I mean, again, on paper, you have to give him respect for the way he has been offensively able to produce. But I don't know if he is, again, not who we're not trading him for. It is what it is. So Castle and Armand. I mean, now we might just have to say we wouldn't trade Castle, or that we would trade Castle for Booker just to commit at some point. But if I'm being honest, I'm holding on that for a 1-year trade rental. I don't think that I might actually be stupid though for not doing that. Because again, Booker right now he's still 25 a game. 31% from 3, but on the Spurs next to Wemby in a playoff series, is Booker worse than Castle? I don't know. So we've got Harden at 18, like we said, easy. Jalen Johnson right now at 17 is a very, very interesting case, but I'll stick with our guy. Denny Advia at 16. I mean, these guys were in the All-Star game as well, too, so I guess, are we immediately right after the All-Star break going to have Jalen Johnson ranked way down amongst these guys? So wait, was Scotty Barnes almost an All-Star? I guess he was because the Raptors were the 4 seed. So, somebody maybe should have been represented there as well. But yeah, Advia, nearly a top 15 player. Jamal Murray, the fact that he's actually, at that level as well too. I mean, preseason ranked 39 was, yes, him returning from injury, but also, he hasn't been an All-Star in the regular season before this year. He's been a playoff contributor. So, he going to take a step up? He's going to be 35 a game in the playoffs? Maybe. But just that reassurance, again, that Jamal Murray, when the playoffs roll around, can still be at this level. Because, again, we're seeing it right now in the regular season. So, hopefully it doesn't mean he's burnt out as we hit the playoffs. But him and De'Aaron Fox are, and he actually, I think, passes De'Aaron Fox now as the most consistently ranked player in the league. But lowest rank at 18. Highest rank at 15. Durant 14, and again, not to move past the top 10, but again, we did just have the All-Star game, so we kind of know what this is gonna be. But Brunson 13, Jaylen Brown does get to 12, So below Tyrese Maxey is interesting. Is interesting for a 1 year debate. Maxey, of course, is maybe a little bit more efficient of a scorer, but I don't know. Boston, if you trade Maxey for the highest ranked was third for Jaylen Brown. That is like an MVP ballot type of ranking, more so than I think than an individual player ranking. But still, I think with his leadership on that team, if you were like trading him for Maxey right now, I don't think he would. The Celtics would be necessarily better. I think the future stuff of that would be really interesting. And obviously, Maxey and Tatum is an interesting dynamic. And again, the timelines, do they get reset there? I mean, Maxey's just younger in general. So you think even, could we trade Tatum at some point in 5 years and then keep building around Maxey? Who knows? This is the ultimate Danny Ainge theories going forward. I mean, imagine that would be the Ainge move of all Ainge moves. If Brad Stevens just right now traded Jaylen Brown for Tyrese Maxey and the Sixers were like, hey, we got Jaylen Brown and Embiid and Paul George. Like, we're good. We're going to win the title. Edgecombe, I guess they traded Jared McCain. So that would have been the move, would have been trade Jaylen Brown trade Maxey for Jaylen Brown and then have, back before you got rid of Jared McCain and then had McCain and Edgecombe as your backcourt and Jaylen Brown. But no, obviously Maxey is the franchise guy that the Sixers have to build around at this point. His highest ranking was 6. Curry, still in the top 10. You love to see it. Unfortunately, like we know, again, the Warriors wasting the final years of his top 10 year. Anthony Edwards at number 9. So still in that second team All-NBA range. But, come playoff time and then second half of the season as well, too. Definitely, post All-Star break, second half of the season, watch list here for who is going to be amazing All-Stars. And honestly, again, the 9th best player in the league right now is at 29 a game and 49% from 3 and 49% from the field and 40% from 3. Like, how good is the league at this point that is the case? Donovan Mitchell over Edwards is probably just not correct. But, again, it's close. It is what it is. And Cade over Edwards is really, really, really close. And Cade does, of course, have the 9 assists and the perimeter game to the playmaking element to factor in there. And I guess, the turnover volume may be a little bit heavy, but Edwards is, again, I don't want to say he's sleepwalking to 29 a game, but it does feel like we're not even getting like a super turned up Ant Edwards right now. Like, I feel like Ant Edwards at this point in his career is like a 35 a game, 34 point a game score. Like, I think he legitimately could score 30. I guess he is like pretty efficient right now. But if he was on like a, 06 Kobe, I'm taking every shot type of game as well too. Like, I mean, could any of these top guys get to 34 a game if they really push? But I think he is maybe 32. Maybe, I guess, again, it's like an extra shot, but still, I think, in the playoffs, is there a world where he's like 33 a game in a couple of playoff series combined? I think so. But Kawhi at 6, we saw him have the best stretch of play there in the All-Star game, and maybe that was telling as well too, that Kawhi, didn't have the fourth quarter. Not to say that, he's played bad at the end of seasons, but he just, unfortunately, just hasn't been able to, have enough games played at the end of the years here for the Clippers to have the runs. It is what it is. Pause. But 28 a game this year is him still going absolutely crazy. Giannis still at 5, though. Again, impact on the season will be a little bit lower this year because he's in a different spot. Wemby at 4. So they do have is Brunson at 3? Hey, I guess again the veteran status of Brunson, does have to be. Oh, Doncic is at 3. Wait, where was Brunson at? Did we zip past Brunson? Oh, where's Shea? Hey, did they just forget about Brunson? Is this a game? Oh, Brunson was 13. We did just move past Brunson. It is what it is. So Brunson behind Jaylen Brown as well. So I guess the Celtics are better, but is Jaylen Brown right now better than Brunson? I don't know. So wait a second. It was Doncic over Wemby? Does Doncic play defense? When did that start happening? Hey, because Wemby 24 a game, 51% from the field. I don't know. The numbers offensively starting to get a little bit close there, but then Shea and Jokic, of course, are 1 and 2. It is what it is. So there we go. Bleacher Report once again eviscerated by the Rim and Sam Pod. Shout out. it is what it is. But yeah, shout out to Baby Keem. Great album. Fun listening. Can't wait to run that one back tomorrow over the weekend here. And, hey, just for the rest of the year, adding that into the rotation. Hey, yo, Denver again. I mean, shout out to our, again, our mistress team, the Blazers, but they are just getting absolutely smoked by the Nuggets right now. It's 146-99 with 3.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So Denver will get to 150 here. I mean, they just got Sissoko just destroyed somebody for the Blazers on a dunk attempt. So good defense there by the Blazers. Finally, when they're down 50, but down 50, they're going to give up 150 in a game. Hey yo, there it is. What a way to close the show. Oh, I guess I can't do math. 146, 148. Do we have to wait for them to get to 150? I don't know. We'll see if it happens here. But and our guy Deron Holmes is out there. Shout out. Unfortunately, last year had to deal with the knee injury, so he can also be an important part for this team as they get to the playoffs. Oh, the putback attempt for Najee, is that going to be offensive interference? Or are they going to give him that one there? Because that would give him 150, but I think they might get offensive interference there. So at least we saw a 150th potential point, but I guess they didn't quite make it. So it is what it is. We'll give them one more offensive possession here, and then we'll take off. But you can, of course, follow the podcast feed. Stay tuned to the message us on Instagram if you want to connect with us over there, and stay tuned to the YouTube as well too. We'll be back Sunday, quarter 3, 151. 151-99. Denver's up by 52. Hey, yo. It is what it is. Rest in peace to Portland. Shout out. But, yeah, we'll be back Sunday. More NBA, more fun stuff on the live stream there. Henson Yang, can he make up 50 points in 2.5 minutes? We will see. But, yeah, of course, the schedule, Sunday, Tuesday, Friday. Hey, yo, it's Friday. So be back Sunday, be back Tuesday, and then be back next Friday. And we can't wait to see y'all then. Enjoy the next couple of days. Be back Sunday.